Thank you for joining us, brother. We are here on the actually the inaugural journey of Between Two DMs. I'm honored, of course, to have the maestro at Dungeon Glitch. Matt, how you doing today? Welcome.
I'm doing great. Everything's the best.
Man,
this is a lot of fun. I'm excited.
That's what we want to hear. I also am super duper pumped. Matt, I was kind of telling you before we hopped live, like I have been, kind of new to the Twitch space. This is like the end of month 2, I think, and have really, really enjoyed, however, seeing how tight the community is of D&D peeps, and have sort of endeavored on typically Mondays, sometimes Wednesdays, to kind of live stream my campaign notes or sort of my campaign prep session, with the idea being that, I just trying to take some of the mystery out of DMing and trying to make it a little bit more, accessible and not seem like this kind of huge mountain that has to be climbed, with tons of homework and, tons of reading and writing. So, man, I'm just curious, let's set the tabletop, so to speak. Did you start by playing D&D? Was that your first system? Is that what kind of got you into tabletop? Or
So I started with 2nd edition,
Sick.
Advanced Dungeons and Dragons with Seiko and all that stuff. I was a little late to it. I didn't get to play, Elf as a class or anything like that. But yeah, 2nd edition was neat. All the skinny black books is really what it was. Monsters with unpronounceable names.
Hell yeah.
And yeah. So I started with that one, and then I didn't get to play too much of it. I did, but I didn't feel like I got a better grasp of the system and the possibilities. I think I just matured as a player,
Sure.
and then I got a better chance of it come 3rd edition. When 3.0 came out, sky was the limit. Like, I'm gonna make some wild stuff. So that was a lot of fun. Our first campaign, once I picked those books up, went from level 1 to 22.
No
way. Which was great, because once we got to 18, we were nervous about what would happen, and then 3.5 dropped the epic handbook, and it was like, they knew we needed this.
That is unbelievably serendipitous. That is so fucking cool.
Because we were going to make stuff up. And it was like, so what happens if my strength gets 40? And it's like, well, I have the psionics guide. Technically, if I'm a minotaur, I can boost my strength to somewhere into the tens of thousands. And it's like, well, if we do the math, that looks like if I punch the ground, I can knock the planet out of orbit.
Let's see what happens.
I'm like, please don't. Please don't do that.
Man, that is so cool, dude. And Koopy, thank you for sliding in. I appreciate you stopping by. This is Dungeon Glitch. He's an extremely talented individual, super nice guy. We're just kind of chatting D&D. Man, that is insane. I currently have a dear friend of mine that I have brought back to the 5e table, and he started at Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. He started with Advanced 2e, and I mean, loved it. I think I'm kind of misinterpreting, Matt. Did you start off as a player and then it kind of shifted to DM, or was it the other way around?
So, the first thing I did was I was a player, but very briefly. I was a player, and the DM who was running it had no grasp of control or pace or anything like that, and they killed my character in the first 20 minutes.
No, of session 1.
Yeah, and I'm like, is this how it's supposed to be? And I was like, okay, we're gonna revive you, but you're gonna be all messed up. I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So it went on from that, and then it's like, okay, hang on, I'll make something. Let's try this out. And then everyone's like, no, this is much better. We'll just stick with this.
Dude, that is brutal. I mean, they of course talk about how the early, installments and the early editions of D&D were considerably more dangerous. But that sounds like it might have been an exception in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I had a level 1 elf fighter, and he had a little pistol crossbow that shot magic missiles, and he was adorable. That was really cool. And then it's like, okay, yeah, you're one-on-one in an arena with an ogre. How do I get into an arena? One hit, dead.
Dude, what?
It's like, okay, yeah, no, he finishes you off. I'm like, what are we playing? It's like, I didn't even roll anything.
Yo, welcome to a game called Suck It.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
So it's
so
like
good.
I'm playing that. It's like, yeah, that was the precursor to Elden Ring. So yeah.
Yeah, dude.
My first intro to D&D second edition was Dark Souls. So
That's hilarious. Yeah, we all know. I mean, unfortunately, we do stand Dark Souls here, aka like the death simulator that I I have slowly been wading into on Fridays. But dude, that is a hilarious reference point. I can't imagine. I was exposed to third edition. Like I made a third edition character, and was just an idiot. Like didn't really know the questions to ask. Like was excited about it, but was way too video gamed up to kind of make that jump, right? And it's just interesting to hear you say kind of maturing as a player, maturing as a DM, because I mean, it's rare that I think about that with tabletop, but you're right. It does kind of expand your understanding of not only like what the game, like how it can be played, but sort of almost what it is meant to represent, like these potentially highly dramatic, you know, highly sort of grounded role play scenes can be, you know, just as satisfying as like escaping the clutches of a close combat, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's great that you mentioned that too, because I think between when I had played second edition and when I got my hands on third edition, I had played Final Fantasy Tactics, and that was what I think really kind of set the stage for where things could have gone. And it was more like every level is like an actual encounter. I can work with that. Before it was like, we're hunting a wizard. Yeah. We don't stop. Let's go.
That is hilarious. Trick, thank you for the follow. Appreciate you coming through. This is just a space for D&D content, DMs to chop it up. This is Dungeon Glitch sharing some of his knowledge and insight as well. And Nathan, thank you for coming through as well, man. Hope your Wednesday's going great. In that situation, Matt, are you typically more of an adventure guide DM, or did it start that way? Like, did it start as kind of homebrewy and meet in the middle, or?
Oh, I didn't know about modules until like I thought you had to homebrew everything. I had never heard of it. So everything's like, yeah, no, I got to make a world first. You want to play D&D? You got to give me a day at least. I got to make something.
Totally, I got to write a book.
It's like, yeah, you just like go steal me some graph paper, man. Let's figure this out. So you know, it's like I got to get into some of the good math classes in school. No one's looking.
Dude, I mean, yeah. That percentile dice will definitely like raise your appreciation for algebra pretty aggressively.
Oh, I used the Pythagorean theorem last week. It was like, and it's funny because like I run into people who actually do like math and number jobs and they never touch it. It's like,
that's
why would you? Why would you?
You're like, oh, dude, I do grid combat. I had to.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I got a 30-foot fly speed. What do you think was going to happen? You think it's not like it should be baked into the rules? Basic geometry will occur. It's like, oh shit.
That is so rad, man. No, you're right. And I mean, I'm sure that your 7th grade math teacher felt that wherever he or she was in that moment, felt that math finally get used the one time that year. Sort of the ripple in the force.
Yeah. You get that little like tingle. It's like someone's talking about you.
That's hilarious. Man, I appreciate you sharing that. And thank you for that as well, Koopy. That's hilarious. We had some chat adding that they only found out about Strahd about 2 months ago, which is hilarious to me because I have literally had to mute Strahd from Google, like my Chrome extensions, like from Reddit, only because my dear friend Brian, who like I started off as a player, and it was, you know, my background is in improv and in acting and writing, so the storytelling aspect was extremely intoxicating to me, where I mean, I felt like I was in a choose your own adventure book, right? Where it sort of was like, oh fuck, which page am I about to flip to? I also love board games, so it was easier for me. Like it felt it grounded the world to have the player's handbook, to have the system in place, to see that it was like, oh snap, this is not someone playing Calvin ball. Like there is a series of checks and balances, you know what I mean, which can help the game be fun and be enjoy, you know, sort of a joy to everyone. I'm really curious, man, because like Matt, I feel like you're so generous with your experience, and I feel like you're incredibly free with sharing things that have worked for you and been effective for you. that's something just, I find like really incredible about you as an individual, and something that definitely like draws me to you as someone entering the space. And I'm curious, like, whenever you are, starting up a table, and whenever you're kind of beginning, kind of, for lack of a better word, like a new campaign, like going through session 0, etc., is there, like, could you maybe talk about that process a little bit for you? Like, I know some DMs, for example, will send out, like a Google survey and be like, hey, what do you find most exciting? Do we want to, are we role play centric? Are we exploration, combat? What's off limits? What's on limits? Like, how do you normally kind of approach, moving towards a session 0 and session 1?
Sure. So I typically, I only use homebrew worlds.
Sick.
Like
Let's go.
I need to make something unique, because if I don't even know I don't know anything about these other worlds. And it's funny because like I didn't know about modules, but I still had like the Ravenloft like novels.
Hell
like,
yeah.
and like the Dragonlance ones. And like on the cover it says D&D. I'm like, okay, so what is this D&D flavored book? What is this? And I didn't know that, like, no, you can actually play in these places. Like, am I gonna make this up? What is this?
Dude,
so I'm reading about like Raceland and all these other things, and like, I have no idea. This doesn't mean anything to me. This is ridiculous. So for me now, when I make stuff, coming up with worlds, I try to be. I like to do something that's at least high concept to something relevant now. So like, if I wanted to make something out of nowhere today, it might have a little more robotics thing to it somewhere, because that's kind of like what I'm sort of into, or like Arcane from League of Legends might be.
Oh, sick. Yes.
Something that people would be more likely to more recently relate to. And that's just a basic intro. And then from there, it's like, I'm going to make some kind of ridiculous story. So I need you to tell me some things that you want to experience that you've never done as a player, or something that you really enjoyed as a player. And I'm going to set the challenge for myself to make those better.
Damn.
So when people are like, oh, I like guilds, I'm like, good. It's like, it's funny because like rarely people say monsters. So I rarely have monsters. Like all my villains are NPCs. You're fighting people. It's I never use monsters. I almost never use dungeons, and I never use dragons. So what am I even playing? So, it's it's
been a great stream, everybody. See, I will see you tomorrow.
Yeah. So it's like I take the system and we're just gonna play in this other cool world of and use the entire system, but I'm not cracking the monster manual.
Yeah, that's cool. The chat is vibing with that as well, dude. That's really 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 interesting, man. Like I love, of course, the idea of kind of working like you, because you talk. I mean, I also, like, some of my main villains are NPCs, and it's really, I think from a storytelling aspect, can be super compelling.
Yes.
It's sort of like, how do I ground this? How do I justify this woman wanting these things or doing these things to get them, right? And I this was going to be maybe later on, but it's just, I feel like really a nice kind of segue. I started off doing Dragon of Icespire Peak.
I just played that.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Did you? I also loved it. I mean, truly. Yeah. D&D, Dudes in Danger. Trick Ninja, that's hilarious. Yeah, Glitch invented a new version of D&D. That's Dudes in Danger. But man, one thing I really, really enjoyed about Dragon of Icespire Peak, I mean, I feel like for a starter adventure pack, it's very piecemealed, where it's sort of like, hey, here's an episodic, here's almost like an adventure guild, right? Where you can sort of take individual jobs, step into the world at your own pace. And you also have like the overarching kind of through line of this dragon threatening the area. But I bring it up because it was really digestible and approachable to me as a DM running a module for the first time. But I also found that because of the open-endedness of it, that I really had a ton of flexibility to kind of tweak little things, to kind of reskin elements of a module to either fit my own homebrew, right, to fit sort of the backstory of a player. And I guess, like, I mean, the question I was getting to is, most of where you're coming from is homebrew, and especially with villains or maybe kind of antagonists that are NPCs. How does that process look like in terms of working backwards? Like, do you have like one end scene in mind where you're like, all right, the villain is here atop the tower, it's a storm, etc.
So my favorite thing to do is when I'm writing it, I remove the party entirely. Because what the villain's plan is doesn't depend on the party. So it's like, okay, resource, goal, external problem, and then things that the villain is trying to deal with. And it just so happens that the party becomes aware of it. Or they can choose not to, and my villain will proceed.
Yeah.
And something awful could potentially, definitely will happen. It's just, where will you be when it happens?
Yeah. So, how long do you have till it happens? Yeah.
Exactly. But in that, I like to taunt my players, and I will give them opportunities to meet these villains as they're doing other things. Like, they'll just kind of like bump into each other on the street. And it's like, yeah, if you killed him then, we would be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it's like, or like, I'll give the opportunity to be like, no, you can, if you want, you can change sides and work with them.
Damn.
If you want, you can do that.
Damn.
And it's like, I just give them all these random opportunities to spin the narrative, and then it's my challenge that I enjoy to adapt to it.
That is beautiful, and that is so the opposite of a railroading DM, right? I mean, that's so highly fluid. It's like, yo, would you guys actually like to be the bad guys or the gray area guys? That's awesome. Yeah, Nathan, I appreciate that too, man. That also was resonating with me. I'm like, damn, Matt, that's a good point. Like, I'm glad I'm recording this. I need to go back through. That's hilarious, man. Definitely the gray area is where so much of that juice comes from, and likewise, I mean, that's such a great way to describe it whenever you're kind of strategizing as the BBEG or whatever NPC with their goals, right?
I also like to make my villains very sympathetic. They they need reasons to do what they do.
Yeah.
And I like to give them an actual, I have a writing background, so if I can give them an actual Shakespearean tragedy arc where they started off awesome and things are great for them, or it's the opposite and they believe they are the hero, so they have their own heroic arc. Dude. So it's like, if the players want to get on board and sympathize and see why they're doing what they're doing, very rarely are my villains actually evil. It's like, we're out for revenge or we're out for other things. Sometimes it's greed. If it's greed, then yeah, that's evil. You can kill them. Go for it. But chances are I have them wrapped up in something else that will present moral quandaries to the party, because that's something I like to do to people I care about. Test their fucking morals and make them squirm. It's like, I should kill this person, but I like what they're doing. Or if this person goes away, then it's going to hurt so many other people that don't deserve it. It's like,
it's
so
what do you want to do? That is absolutely hysterical, Matt. We pan over to our partners. There's yes. Koopy just goes, yeah, man. You square up with the villain at the gas station we both go to. I love the idea of being unafraid to present whatever antagonist. Doesn't have to be necessarily labeled the villain or BBEG. They're moving through the world. They have day-to-day activities and needs. Man, the gray area is so juicy. Have you ever had a party that has, I get the word more or less has flipped, has gone over and joined the antagonist? That is sick. Could you describe that? Or?
It was tough, because I realized that when I do this, the weakness to this build, because there's trade-offs. Anyone with divination can figure stuff out a lot quicker than anyone else, because it's one thing to do. No, I just do gather information for a week. I want to learn everything, and it's like, all right, cool. Versus, I just ask my god what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
and it's like, all right, cool. No, it looks like this guy's actually right. And if you were to continue to do this other stuff, not only were you going to end up being very wrong, you may have been part of the next problems to come up. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna side up with him. We're gonna blow up this mine. Let's do it. So
that's hilarious. Yeah, it's hard to run that spool all the way to the end. To see the repercussions of it.
But that's also that's I would give them numerous outs. Like they'd be like, yeah, you don't have to like what you're doing. You're recognizing that the person you're working with is a problem and that you might be being set up.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing later is if the party decides to go off on their own and do other stuff or to attack things completely off the rails, I will take this higher level BBEG and put them in the party. It's like, no, you're all a team now. They're cool. You have a level 12 wizard who is down for the cause. He's rolling with you in combat. This is where we're going. And I'll do the same thing with like monsters. It's like, yeah, no, that that ogre mage that you were fighting before, you made a lot of good points.
Yeah.
When you go to fight this guy, he stands next to you.
That is absolutely great. Because there should, and I feel like there's not enough of enticing and encouraging that type of treatise and that type of sort of suing for some sort of, let's find a middle ground. Like, it might not be perfect for you, it might not be perfect for us, but maybe we don't need to like fill the field with blood today.
One of the parties, so I mentioned before that that I was running a game that had 2 tables. One of them was 100% pacifist.
Wow.
The only time they ever killed anything was when they were fighting undead, and they tried to just trap them. It's like, whatever, someone else will deal with this. Dude, but like they like clerics and paladins, and I'm like, I should smite these. I might. And then, but it's like, they would run into bandits, and they'd just be like, listen, leave. Figure it out. If you fight us, we'll kill you. But, in the end, they ended up having a lot more criminals who had come to their side than anything in the end.
Damn, dude, I like that a lot. I mean, there is, like, as a DM for that pacifist party, I feel like my instinct would be, to some degree reduce combat, and then potentially to some degree to like almost like really challenge them with violence. You know what I mean? Is that
you got to find a medium, because it's like you treat it as if they were a regular party.
Yes,
if they choose to do pacifism, that's on them. That's the challenge. They want to play on hard mode. That's what it is. And to their credit, they were very good at it. They had their characters were eloquent. They chose to specifically, I'm going to pull this punch. It's going to be non-lethal damage. And as they progressed, like they did this from level 1 to 7, 1 to 5, and they got the reputation of being pacifists. So some people would be like, this is going to be easy, and they would underestimate the party and then get smoked. Or people would show up and be like, listen, I respect what you do, and that suddenly they would open with a dialogue. And instead of like, hey, let's roll initiative, but it's like, they're curious what you might have to say, since they know you're going to try to talk them down.
That's
really fun.
That's rad, man. I mean, the DM guide talks about how as a party kind of levels up and increases, their renown kind of spreads, right? I mean, geographically, and that's a really, really rad way to represent that, where it's like, damn, okay, like you guys are known as pretty reasonable people. Like, I'm gonna open a dialogue with you. I want to catch up on some of these messages. I really appreciate it, chat. We're kind of letting the chat lag a little bit, just so I can sort of riff with Matt a little bit, but I will be getting to everything. I appreciate you guys. Oh my gosh, Katolyavi. Just as I said your name, welcome. So glad to have you here. We are oh, nice. Love it. That's a dungeon friend. Love it. We are, we're essentially just creating kind of a Monday, Wednesday space here, doing some campaign prep. Extremely blessed to have a Dungeon Glitch on with us here today. Another question that was tossed, Matt, and we kind of touched on this a little bit at the beginning, but whenever you get a sec, I'd love to know about y'all's first ever D&D experience. Who brought you to the dark side? What made you stick around? Matt explained how he, started with second edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm curious, man, like, we didn't quite clarify, like, who exactly did bring you to the dark side? And what was it? Because you talked about that first experience getting, like, railroaded to death. I mean, it sounded, like, pretty bad.
Yeah, that's pretty literal, yeah. I lost initiative, and that was the end.
You get one turn, dude.
Yeah, I got one roll.
Yeah.
So it's like, he hits you for 37 damage. I'm like, I have 8 hit points.
Yeah,
it's like,
call your
that
mom
means you're
to
dead.
come get you, dude. It's over.
Yeah, yeah. I originally got into D&D because I was into fantasy stuff at the time, and I was kind of living with this friend at the time. I'm like in elementary school, and I spent weekends at his house. And he then took off for a summer, and then comes back and he's like, "Oh, I just played this crazy game at summer camp." I'm like, "Cool, can we play it?" And he's like, "No, I don't own it." It's like, "Oh,
Okay,
all right."
so
So like, what's it called? It's like, "Yeah, all right." So that's how I found out about it.
damn.
And then I moved, and I ended up kind of like off and on homeless. So I was working, but I found the books. Like I picked him up, and I had some friends at the time, and we were trying to stay out of trouble. So I was like, "Yeah, why don't we just stay in?" And I know we're sick of playing GoldenEye all day, 'cause we would be. So let me roll up. Let's roll up some characters. So we did that, and we played that instead of getting into trouble.
Yeah,
And that was a lot of fun.
Man, Matt, thank you for sharing that. That is rad. I mean, that is the opposite of the of sort of the book burning late 80s like Judeo-Christian like March of the Devil. It's like, yeah, this is keeping people on the right path.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that until like college. People were talking about, oh yeah, the whole satanic thing. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Dude, I too, like, I was raised in a very conservative household, and that was also how we were met with D&D. Because I remember, like, my first exposure was 3rd edition. Our neighbor had it. Like I said, I made a character, and then it was sort of, like, harshly reprimanded. Like, don't do this. You shouldn't play this, you know? And, I mean, anytime you tell me no, like, my interest is piqued.
Yep.
But you know what I mean? But it just sort of took a hold of itself. I always say that I got into acting for the money, and I got into D&D for the chicks. Which is obviously highly tongue-in-cheek. Koopy, that's hilarious. She says, "I love the sound of your party, Matt, of these pacifists. All my players are bloodthirsty." Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you know, any DM that has spent some time kind of scanning Reddit or reading, you know, the DM's Guild or whatever would be, there's a lot of murder hobos out there.
Oh yeah,
wandering Faerun. Like,
one of these pacifists is a barbarian too, so it's a barbarian warforged, and yeah, they are nuts. So
well, you know, there is something to be said. Like, there's something real world about people that have like genuinely seen violence, like be they, you know, police officers, first responders, you know, people in the military. Like, I, as a civilian, am like exposed to television violence. You know what I mean? And video game violence, and you know, I have to imagine it's like a stark difference. So, like, I buy that. I buy a warforged, you know, understanding that maybe the best last option is violence. Maybe there really should be 9 other checkdowns before you go to the 10th. You know, like, yeah, that's compelling, I think.
Her go-to was intimidation, and they'd let you take like the first 2 swings, and then it's like, you're sure.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I'll let you do a small amount of damage. This is great. This is Tricked coming in. I once had a DM that specifically wouldn't let us be a pacifist or talk anyone down. They just wanted blood. Yo, that is getting a critique.
Agency.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I really don't like to, because like I really do think you should just play D&D how you want to play it, but that's not letting everyone play it how they want to play it.
That means you can't make characters that are bad at combat.
Yeah. You know, like, this is, I mean, truly the first D&D campaign I ever played was Princes of the Apocalypse, which is an adventure book. It's apparently like not considered the best, but I had a great time. I thought our DM did a wonderful job, and it was me playing with a bunch of friends that are also, you know, actors and creatives, and it was extremely collaborative. But the way our DM sort of encouraged us to come to the table with backstories was to kind of pair up, which I've come to realize is like a lot more common. But at the time I was like, oh dang, that's a great idea. Like, that's brilliant. So I was rapping with my friend. His name is also Matt. He was playing a life cleric gnome. Ooh. And I was playing what would become a moon druid, Circle of the Moon druid, and wood elf. All that to say that as a Circle of the Life cleric, I mean, and it took me 15, 20 sessions to even determine this. Dude, he didn't roll an attack roll. He didn't take any hit points until like months. It was against an undead, like a construct. And it was the heady, like he also had played like D&D quite a bit. This was maybe his 4th or 5th character. But I missed it as a newbie. And then it kind of hit me, and then he and I talked about it in character, and it was just like, and so, I mean, part of it was just his commitment as an actor, his like commitment as a role player really, really heightened the game. But it also, for the rest of that campaign, influenced the way my character was interacting with the world, because this gnome was like really important to them. And I didn't want to just like, I don't know, like choose violence every single time, because this player in character really made me think about things differently, which, I don't know, that's like a beautiful aspect of D&D.
I love it. That's fantastic.
You know, this is so great. This is kind of Yavi. I mean, with Matt, you don't have to use weapons, or at least none of my characters ever have.
No, Kat is one of my players, and she consistently breaks my systems.
That is hilarious. How does she break them?
So Kat's last character is a bard.
Cool.
She doesn't fight. She just rolls up with the she rolls up to the party, and like everyone will take their turn and stuff, and it'll be her turn. She goes, no.
Damn.
No. I'm just watching.
That's
and like she
hilarious.
refuses to get dirty and stuff like that. So she had one of the characters carry her through a sewer, and it's but at the end, it's like when everyone else has gone down in combat, because that happened twice.
Yeah.
She just cleans up because she has all her spells. It's like, yeah, no, I'm going to kill all of them. So in the end, her character who doesn't fight has the highest body count.
That is,
she does clean up.
That is ridiculous. And like like death per attack ratio.
Yeah, and it's like she won't even take it seriously. She killed like the leader, a gang leader with like one of her instruments, like a war drum, just bludgeoned him out. Just like, yeah, I don't even care. Lord. It's like, I'm like, that's not gonna do great damage. She's like, I'm not stopping.
Dude,
so it's like
Kano Yavi, I am so glad that we have met by way of Matthew. You are clearly a absolutely brilliantly crazed individual. I'm so grateful for you. That sounds absolutely amazing, man. Yeah, you got to find ways to tailor, you know, and you find out how your players like to play. That kind of leads me to a question, Matt. Like, slightly off topic, but I'm just sort of curious because like whenever you talk about homebrews, and you know, you've shared with us sort of, you know, I mean, I'm sure you have so many just tools in your toolbox as an experienced DM. I'm curious, you know, with a, like, do you do a proper session 0? Do you?
Oh yeah. Well,
like, how does that look for you? And because yeah, I'm sure people would like to know.
So the one thing I do quickly is I just assess the experience of the players. If people are new to Dungeons and Dragons, I'll give them the whole rundown.
Cool.
If it's people that I know play a lot, I can just be like, hey, look, normal stuff, PG-13, fade to black.
Yep.
Do you have any phobias? Is there anything I need to watch out for specifically? Cool. I'm not touching on anything that would normally be triggering to most people. Things that are that reasonable line of all the things that no one wants to hear.
Totally.
So, and then it's like some people will be like, okay, I don't like lizards, I don't like spiders, I don't like I don't like claustrophobia. I'm like, all right, cool, I can work around that. For more advanced people, for more people who have less experience, less advanced, I'll give them a full checklist. Like Monty Cook made a.
I've seen that.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll send it to anyone who needs it. It's a full editable PDF checklist of the majority, the popular ones, the hot button things, and it leaves spaces for write-ins and everything like that. I'm like, here, take a look at this, send it back to me. You don't have to share it with anyone. No one will know. And then you know, you go over X cards and all that other stuff, and then I'll try to talk about things that.
And Matt, just real quick, brother, I'm so sorry to cut you off. By X guards, you mean more or less like literally like a way to communicate mid-session, right? That hey, this is like, you know, this kind of yellow danger light. Yeah.
I've never had them come up though, but it's something like I hope that if it did, I would pick it up in time.
Hell yeah.
I like if I'm playing online, which is the only way I play anymore. Like my eyes are glued to the cams.
Yeah.
So it's like I might have a stream going, but I'm really not paying attention to the stream in most cases.
Yeah.
So yeah, other than that, that's the safety part of it. The rest of it's just the creative.
Cool.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
And is that, like, with that in mind, is there, you know, like a percentage of your, I mean, I hesitate to say story or campaign,
Sure.
but to what degree are you looking to, you know, once you sit down and hear your players' thoughts, you're like, oh, snap. You know, like after you've kind of had a session 0, how much is that influencing and incorporating itself into the campaign? Like 50%, 20%, 100?
It's another read thing, because it's got to be like, I know some characters, some players will get more invested if I lean into their characters. I know this player here will support whatever we do, so I'm going to reward them, but they know what they're doing. And then it's also like, hey, what are some things that people found interesting? What information are they giving me? Because some people will be like, yeah, I'm just a rogue. I don't have parents. This is my story. Like, that's your story. That's cool. I can work with that. Some people will be like, well, I am the 4th generation of this, and we survived this war. We own numerous properties over here. I'm like, okay, cool. We're gonna be, so we're gonna use a lot of this stuff here, and you start to develop a sense of a timeline to how things can pan out, and then it's also like, well, how do I blend that with what I had in mind, and then you just run in parallel.
Yeah.
So there's cool. Like, and essentially it's like, yeah, good. You're giving me ticking clocks. We're still doing my thing. You get to figure out and choose which ones you want to do.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's like, oh no, your mom is still in danger. It's just that there's a tidal wave heading towards the coast. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, or you could skip both and chase the bad guy who you see right over there.
Yeah,
you could end the whole thing, but you will lose the other 2.
That's what Koopy wants. Koopy's definitely just like, yo, I've been tracking this bad since the gas station. Like, I'm staying with them.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm 16 beers deep at Chili's. We're going to go.
Yeah, I see him. That's him. Dude, that's what the line is. Yo, me and my partner were 16 beers deep at Chili's, and we saw you from across the bar. Are you the BBEG?
Oh yeah, this whole thing? Yeah, no, that's me. Summons a meteor.
That is so great. Man,
Katayabi,
I'm going to need to be a fly on the wall of Kat's sort of character creation. That seems very intense. I love that.
Kat is amazing. She's one of my favorite people to play with, because rules don't apply, but incredibly apply. And it's wild.
There you go. I know exactly what you mean by that, dude. That is hysterical. So Matt, man, that's super helpful. I mean, and for any DM out there, I mean, that is. I mean, I could not co-sign that any firmer. You know, even if you know the table really well, or you feel like you know the table really well, it'll be worthwhile to sort of reach out to them, to double check.
Oh yeah.
To give them an out, to make sure that, you know, a subject that you want to touch on, that you feel like might be, you know, sort of adult themed or something a bit more serious or grave. Just giving yourself clarity, because even if you feel like it's an automatic yes, players really appreciate and respect that, because it's just you respecting them. You know what I mean? But let me ask you, man, I found that super helpful. And I have found over the past, you know, 2 or so months of kind of streaming my own kind of session prep, and kind of, you know, just sharing my Google document as I type it up, or the owlbear as I create the map, whatever it would be, that a common question and a common kind of balancing act that I think is really, really hard for DMs, especially new DMs, to hit, is some version of feeling good about their prep and feeling good about their prep process, right? Without feeling like they have to spend 8 hours the day before or the night before. And like, I'm just curious, like, you know, I'm curious to know what your prep process is, you know, what your biggest kind of most important must-haves are. And then after that, I might have some more specific conversations. But like, what does prep look like for you?
So I also have a little bit of an improv background, a little bit.
Hell yeah.
So that kind of helps. But also, like, I've written a ton of just random stuff. So for me, coming up with prep, I also have to know my weaknesses. Like, I am severely dyslexic. So if I'm trying to come up with, like, words on the spot, it sometimes becomes very difficult and just turns into, I know 8 things I want to say, and they're all going to try to come through with the exact same moment, and I won't say anything because it's just bottlenecked somewhere in my face. Yeah. So I will write like an 8-page script and I don't necessarily have to use it, but like as long as I can, like, in the corner of my eye see words like the beginning of the sentence, the end of the paragraph, I know where I'm going. I can feel it. The improv will take over. I know what my character's voices are. I know what their mannerisms are, that kind of thing. And if you don't know that, then you got to make it. At least that's what I do. So, like, I'll just,
No, I feel that. And so, Matt, is that typically, you know, like that's essentially you trying to arm yourself, right? You know, with some sort of staying ahead of the curve. Oh my gosh, Mapronomicon. Yes, I got it. Mapronomicon. Yes.
That's dope.
That is a sick name that honestly almost gave me a stroke, baby boy. Yeah, I know. Yo, tell me, Mapro, is the sound way too loud? Because I love the foghorn and I like blasting it, but I've realized I have not checked the level. Necronomicon, Mapronomicon, that is so good. Okay, I have a new vocal warm-up before I record voiceovers. Thank you so much for that. Get in here, man. We're talking D&D. If you're new to my page, I'm Carpe the DM. I run campaign prep on Monday, Wednesdays, and I stream Elden Ring, where I die, typically in character, again and again. But it's a beautiful game. I've really enjoyed it. This is Dungeon Glitch. He is a super talented DM and I mean, honestly, just sort of, I feel like a legend in the space, dude. You're super generous with your experience and super generous with your knowledge, which is expansive.
Thank you. I'm just some loud bozo. It doesn't go away.
Well, dude, listen, that's what I respond to. Matt, bro, if the goal was to have the sound overpower anyone talking, then you succeeded. That's exactly what the goal is, dude. I want your neighbor's dog to be awoken. So keep me posted. No, but man, that's hilarious. Like what you're doing, and Koopy, I'm going to get to that question. I did miss it. Is you're essentially trying to equip yourself, right, with shorthand solutions that you can lean to in the middle of a session. And I like how you describe that, where part of that is knowing your own weaknesses and knowing like, hey, snap, like what do I struggle with, or what can I help my future self do more easily, right? And before I kind of talk about that, I just wanted to see, it feels so overwhelming. So Koopy says, I sat in front of my, basically her prop, document and, prep document rather, totally blanked out, unsure of how to begin the prep and feeling like it was so overwhelming. How do you combat that? And Koopy, I think to clarify, I think where you're coming from is essentially like the session is tomorrow at 6 o'clock. It's, it's 2 o'clock the day before or whatever. And now you're sitting down trying to handle the prep yourself.
4 hours per hand is 4 hours before is usually mine.
Is when you hop in there. Got you. See, for me, it's like the night before. It's as I'm like winding down the night before. I would say, to answer that question, as Matt sort of spoke to, knowing your own weaknesses is key. Like for me, I really like to have a little bit of dialogue written out. Doesn't necessarily have to be a paragraph or a whole, soliloquy, but if this thief has an opinion and I want it really well framed, then heck yeah. Just like an actor or a writer, I would really rather have it structured so I can see it, like Matt said, maybe kind of riff on it, maybe tweak it in an improv-y way if it's more appropriate. But that at minimum gives me confidence because I have some dialogue bullets in the chamber. And Koopy, I think that's something you and I have maybe witnessed before. I can definitely do some more of that. But Matt, what would you say? Because I think your version of that is like, well, snap, I want to make sure I have some key descriptors, some clutch moments. But how do you ever feel that where you're like, damn, this page is just so blank?
So if you're starting out from zero, first you have to recognize if you're doing it, like parts of the story have to happen. Like if you're doing like a campaign, then you should know the pulse of the amount of time stuff is going to take and what potential things are going to happen. If it's like a one shot, then you should know the climax. Start there and work backwards.
In terms of the prep.
My games are
that's a great note. It's a great note.
My games my campaign stuff is a little more fluid, so it's difficult for me to be like, this is what we're doing today, because they'll just not. And then it's like, but at the same time, it's like it's like, okay, I've prepared 4 things. I need you to understand that you just picked the 5th option.
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
At the same time, you're clearly a very good DM, because they not only feel like the world is truly open, but then they're like, yo, actually, you didn't even mention that direction, but I'm interested in it. I'm going over there.
Well, I mean, I did a one-shot this weekend on Saturday.
Cool.
And Hope for TTRPG, she played a creation bard, and I had traps all through this building. And she's like, well, what if I just make a speaker? Will that disable all of the sound-based traps? I'm like, shit, yes, it will. My climax is busted. Okay, cool. Let's do it. Let's roll with it.
Yeah, how did it resolve itself? Like, what did you pivot that into?
They actually made a lot of like decisions that set them up perfectly for like a beautiful ending.
Sick.
Which they didn't know about.
Yeah.
I like to give them. One of the things of my style is I give the PCs interaction with NPCs that will give NPCs an ability to change or impact the story. So in this case, mechanically, they ran into 2 clerics and they gave them 5 options. They could only do 2 because there's only 2 clerics. So it's like,
gotcha.
all right, there are numerous problems. We can fix 2 of 5. What do you want us to do? And that's just something that happens in the background. And I have it in the notes where it's like, okay, if they pick this one, this can happen later on. If they pick this one, this character reappears and helps with this. So it was like a burning factory, and they picked, okay, help the people. Yeah. And it was like, okay, if no one's helping the people, if you're going to do it, it's going to require skills check challenges and all this other stuff. But instead, it's like, you pick this, so he's going to come in, he's going to knock some stuff over, he's going to make a bridge. Hey, I got this. Cool. You guys continue on with what you're doing. So as they're doing that gives them the sense of, the world works around them. The choices they make have impacts. And if I wanted to keep this going, these 2 characters can now be reoccurring. Like they now have two friends.
I love that. I also like kind of thinking about how an NPC would be affected, how their trajectory might change, right? And dude, this is like, I mean, I have this in bold, all right? Because I was like, John, do not forget to ask Matt this question, okay? It is truly like a question that I have posed multiple times on Twitter and really have not gotten an answer to. But I'm curious, dude, do you ever, a 2-part question, but it's like really one question. Do you ever roll for events in between sessions? / do you ever basically almost roll for an NPC as if you are playing them as a PC? Like, again, between sessions.
So between sessions, you mean as if they were like backstory or context leading up to the next one?
Well,
or
more like, let's say that your party ran across these 2 clerics and they were like, hey,
yep,
we need a bridge. We got to head north. And they're like, you got it. Cool. Here we go. Boop, ba-da. And, in that decision of them making the bridge had an effect on the world, right? Had an effect that sort of impacted the clerics. I guess sometimes as part of my prep, whenever I'm sort of setting up the action, what you're talking about, the pulse, right? Which is such a smart way to put it, because that pulse ebbs and flows in terms of like what you need to highlight session to session, and even within a session that can have several different moments of needing to quicken the pulse, slow it down, etc. But so I love that, man, as a descriptor. But I guess what my question was of rolling for an NPC between sessions, like, is that ever part of your prep? Like, sometimes I, of course, will just go with the choice that I think is the most realistic and perhaps the most compelling. But sometimes I'm like,
oh, adding a random element of results.
Exactly.
If I think it can be interesting, I think more often than not, I will determine the choice, and it won't always necessarily be the obvious choice. If in fact, I will probably go with, no, this person was a lot more incompetent than you had anticipated.
Yeah,
or but you know, it's whatever, because it's like I'm also trying to put this character over for the players. In some cases, like I need them to. It's you know, it's about making memories for the players. So I'm like, how can I make this more fun or memorable? Or if they're into the realism, how do I make this more realistic? So
yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
If it is a roll results thing, I'm happy to do it in front of them.
Yeah,
because it's like, yeah, because then I can get their attention up. I'd be like, okay, yeah, this person's gonna give it a shot. Pick even or odds. That's how close this is.
Dude, that's totally. See, for some reason, that for me as a DM is massively freeing, because it gets people off of my ass in the sense that I'm like, yo, man, you know, like, hey, you know, this isn't like, I'm not always playing God. Sometimes fate and luck is just truly going to influence whether something breaks left or breaks right.
Yep.
That's rad. So with that in mind, do you ever just do the DM, the classic like pump fake, where you just roll a die? It's an empty roll, but you're just sort of setting the tone. Like, are you?
Yeah.
Is that you?
Yeah. It is, because I try to play it fair, because it's like a lot of cases it'll be like, all right, yeah, give me a perception check.
Yes, exactly, dude. Exactly. Or insight, right? I mean, like, even if they're not lying, you need to roll, right?
Right. Yeah. Because otherwise it gets to the point of he only asks when they're lying. And it's like, I understand that my players are really good and they'd avoid metagaming, but I don't want to have to pressure them to think that they have to do it. So it's like, look, as long as I can be like, yeah, no, you're in a conversation, do an insight. Just whatever. Yeah, sure. No, everything seems straight up.
That's it.
As long as you use seems, that's all that matters. Everything appears okay. Everything appears fine.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of that poker face, right? In terms of, you know, needing to kind of glide off that. Believe me, man, I have a couple lawyers in my campaign. And it's like, give me a break, dude. Like, the defense rests, okay? Like, I'm an actor, man. Like, I don't know. You know?
Yeah. Yep. Because otherwise, like there are some people who will kind of like metagame, and they'll just like,
yeah, I know.
They'll give me like the Larry David kind of look, and it's like, I'm like, so in some cases where like my characters like actually are lying, I'll just do it as like nonchalant and just like, yeah, all right, let's just do an insight. What do you got?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
That's fine.
Oh, exactly. You know what? And that is a great tip for any DM. Like, if you are just trying to casually throw something away, be indifferent. Oh, you know what? Yeah, sure. Yeah, roll it. You know what I mean? Like, it's if it seems like an afterthought, then it will definitely drop the guard a couple notches. Or at least in my experience as like a player, that has definitely been an effect.
I learned that the hard way in a poker game.
Really? Oh man, yeah, that's real world. That's real world. Was this like
I was playing
casino game or home game?
It was a home game, but it was for real money. So we're playing it, and there's like $50 on the table, and my buddy just goes, "Yeah, look, I got to get out of here. I'm out. Just whatever." And everyone's like, "Yeah, all in, whatever." And he just cleans up with like 3 kings. It's like, oh, all right, good job. And he sits in, and he's like, all right.
It's like, you're not leaving?
Son of a bitch.
Bro! No, dude. No. You can do that with a good hand, but then you have to get your ass up and leave. Okay? Yeah. Like, cause you can't just pump fake me into going all in because I think you're about to drive 25 minutes. Damn, that's cold. Yep. Oh my gosh, that is so cold, man.
That's how trust issues start, you know?
Exactly. You know, and see, that's also part of the reason that I enjoy, like, just occasionally being like, you know what? Like, you ask a question, watch as I roll this die to get the answer for you. You know what I mean? Because there is, like, I sometimes really like to communicate, because they know that, like, of course I'm making so many decisions. I'm basically a show running our campaign, right? In terms of writing, making choices, highlighting. But at the same time, like, I want it to feel truly random, because that's life. And of course, heavily impacted by their own choices and their own wants and needs. Okay, you ready? Ready for a hard tone shift?
Ooh, yeah.
I'm not asking if you have ever done it, but I'm asking if the environment of your campaign has ever killed a player.
So one of the things that happened recently, and yes, I'm actually notorious for killing characters.
Let's go, Matthew.
I have some dice that just are brutal. I don't know what it is. Like I have this set of green dice that like when my players see them, they just cringe.
Dude,
it's
that's real.
So, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna roll like 5 20s today. Get ready. But like I lean into it and I play it like I'm a bad guy wrestler, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, you gotta heal it. Yeah.
Yeah. So precisely. So, but this is something that I did recently and I haven't had a chance to talk about. I ran a private session for a bunch of people, like top names in the community. It was fun.
Sick.
And
That's sick.
The thing was I needed them to want to get TPK'd, and so that I could say that I did it. And essentially,
Dude.
it was I got them all cursed, and like it had like a timer on it, and then they figured out.
Was this a device? Was it like a lycanthropic? Like were they bitten? Like what? You know, how was the curse transferred?
They woke up from possession. That's how the session started.
Oh fuck me. Okay.
It's like, yeah, no, you're all like, you know, hanging out in the void. Just you just, and suddenly you wake up and you're mid combat.
Damn, let's
like
go.
there's an axe in your face,
and you feel
and it's like, oh, yeah, and like they fight it, and then they realize like all of the characters have been psychically enthralled for months.
Damn.
And they're piecing together what had happened, and I gave each of them a little bit of backstory and some clues so that they would have to role play figuring it out.
And like combine separate clues like together.
Exactly. That's one of my fetishes. I do that all the time,
bro.
So it's like it's like, yeah, you know, clue number 4, clue number 2, you know where, you know who.
Dude,
I'm not gonna tell you to talk to each other.
That is such a good idea, man. Like I am full stop stunned. That's brilliant, man. Like yeah, I mean for a mystery, for a puzzle, for a mechanical anything. I mean that's cool.
I wish I recorded it. So I don't know if I did record it. I might have. I don't think I did. But so then like they realize that this timer is ticking down, and they need to. They don't even know who cursed them or anything like that.
Yeah.
So they had to go figure out what this was, what would happen to them, and how to beat it. And essentially, it's like if you're dead when the timer goes off, you're not annihilated. So why don't we just hunt down some clerics that'll raise us after 50 seconds, but before a minute,
dude.
So they all had to die at the exact same time, and they just they elected for group electrocution.
And
then so I TPK'd them, and then they came back, and then it's like, okay, cool, now we can begin the campaign for real.
Dude. Whoa.
So yeah, that goes out. Some random people in the community will confirm it. So,
bro, guys, if you were just hopping in, we have Dungeon Glitch, and he is dropping some bombs up in here. I mean, what the heck, man? Dude, that is crazy. Okay, I got to get through some of this chat because people were moved by that, as was I. This is hilarious. Cat goes, Matt and TPK go hand in hand. Dude, I ain't gonna lie, bro. That is high praise. That is high praise, okay? Oh man, Koopy, yeah, I'm glad you like the lightning. I have a soundboard built up for whenever I play Elden Ring, and it's just sort of like reactions and stuff. But I've started to really enjoy incorporating them into my campaign sessions, just because stuff like lightning and musical pulses can be so appropriate, you know. But this is Trick Ninja. It says, oh my god, one of my friends was playing a super small, like a homebrew character. I assume that means homebrew class. They wanted to dramatically bust through the saloon doors. Crit failed. So the DM had them take damage and fall on the ground. Then a big guy happened to walk out and stepped on the player. Crit fail to move. Crit success on attack. Dealing damage. Insta-kill. This is hilarious. Well, they warn you to not start your campaign in a tavern, and it sounds like that might be part of the reason why. Oh my gosh. Trick Ninja says, sorry for the delay, but that's the closest environmental kill I've witnessed. That is hilarious. And Kat says she watched the end of that session. Is that the one that Matt was talking about running? Because
did we stream that? I don't remember. We might have. I don't remember.
You know, if so, I need to check that out, man. That is so sick. So Matt is known for the TPK. That is hilarious. And that's, I mean, you tell me, man, is that, I mean, obviously in that one specific, you know, game you were talking about, that was a really cool, like, plot device.
Yeah.
Kind of a means to an end. Have you found in these previous examples, like, is it just, you know, one of those days, like the bugbears, you know, you got the green dice out and shit's rolling hot? Like, you know, is that what it is? Or
so I try to make deaths meaningful.
Yeah.
Is what it is. And a lot of times when characters die, I've probably already spoken to the player for contingency or like, hey, this is a story thing. It might be kind of cool. And a lot of times players will come to me first. I had a character who was a paladin, and she wanted in 3.5 there was an additional class from the Divine Manual or whatever that was like the Divine Agent. It's like, no, I actually get cool with my god, and I actually hang out. I'm like, cool, we're gonna kill you, and then you're gonna resurrect months later to save the party in your angelic form.
Wow, dude.
And she's like, absolutely. I'm like, cool, we're gonna kill you bad. But then when everything comes back, it's gonna be awesome. So and we did this with another character at the same time, because he had a similar story where he was working with like a mad scientist. And it's like, cool, we're gonna give you those epic upgrades that we saw from the Savage Species guide, but you're gonna be dead first, and then we're gonna Frankenstein these arms on you.
Dude. Wait, was he a wizard? Was that his class?
He was a monk.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
Jesus.
The story was the characters. We had a paladin, 2 paladins, a monk, a rogue, a wizard, and a scion. This was the level 20-ish campaign that went all the way.
Got you.
And
cool.
They ran. They were like in planning phase. They're putting things together, and I'm like, oh yeah, the big bad rolls up on you. You're a problem. He's coming to fix you now.
Yeah.
And they're like, holy smokes. And so the paladin who wanted to die and the monk who wanted to die basically held the line.
Damn.
And it was as everyone ran, because they had like NPCs they needed to protect and townspeople that they needed to evacuate and protect the people on the way to whatever. And they're like, go. I got this.
Dude, that is so sick, man. I'm really, I think that I could so easily see that being obviously like a great session, super meaningful, super high stakes. Like, I mean, people are absolutely shitting themselves. And
well, the other players didn't know they were that
Exactly.
we'd come to the agreement.
Dude,
so
exactly.
like people are crying. I'm like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, you're like, it's actually going to be a good thing, but let's go ahead and let this emotion rise. So, dude, did you have the idea first where you're like, okay, this action would be grounded, it would make sense in the world, and then you pitched it to them? Was that the sequencing?
BBG was going to attack them, but when we had like talked about it, like we were sitting at Taco Bell just like hanging out. And he's like, hey, so what do you want to do?
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I really thought about like I want to try this prestige class, or like I was looking at Savage Species. I thought it'd be really cool to get some of these feats and some of these additional abilities on my monk. I'm like, that is wild. I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But and it was cool because like while their characters were dead, the PCs, when they delivered these characters, the NPCs and other people to the safe haven, they went out and recruited mercenaries to fill the gaps. They needed 2 tanks. So the other players got to roll up 2 new characters to play in the interim while their other characters were getting their upgrades. So it's like, great, we now have 3 new, and one's an NPC, 2 new players, 2 new player characters. We hit the next chapter and everything. They get invested in the story. They each have their own backstory problems that now the main party gets to help with. So I get to add more to the world. And then it comes out to be, at the end, it's like, yeah, your other characters return. You now have 2 characters. Pick one for each session, whoever you want to roll with. And it's like, okay, cool.
That's sick. and gives you so much more fodder to justify action, to have through lines, you know, with these different kind of PCs. That's hilarious. Koopy just goes awestruck just hearing this session. Holy crap, I know. I mean, Matt truly is like a beast. She goes, this is awesome. People are crying and stuff. Exactly. That's the metric. All right, that's the metric.
Yep. I'm aiming for memories. That's what I'm counting.
Yeah.
Everything has to be, I want to be, you know, oh yeah, 20 years ago I was playing Dungeons and Dragons and I had like the greatest character. Yeah, that's from me. I want to be that guy. It was the reason why. Yeah, it's like, oh, look at this art I had professionally done for this character that I'm in love with.
Dude,
let me tell you about this. Go get a bunch of beers. This is gonna take all night.
Exactly. I mean, I feel like 15 to 25%, sort of like a bell signifying an angel getting its wings. But I feel like 15 to 25% of like, you know, new like vampire-esque D&D player creation is one current player just being like, dude, can I tell you what happened to my character? And people are like, dude, we're at a bar. What the fuck are you even talking about? You know, and then 45 minutes later, they're both just like wrapped up in it. You know, I love that.
It's like, so D&D Beyond, right? That's a thing.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah, totally. It's like Google 5e. Google 5e. Dude, that's hilarious.
How do you spell that?
Yeah, man. Have you ever brought in, you know, like another buddy, basically, another player, to play an NPC or play like a villain in a session? Like, does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a reoccurring joke about that.
Like that you're threatening to do it?
No, well, my friend and I, we haven't had the chance to do this in a long time. But when 3.0 was kind of a thing, they had D&D Modern, which was
yes. I feel like
so like you could make characters that were like based on a stat. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm an intelligent hero. I'm a dex hero. So my buddy playing at the time makes this character, and this is like, I was a player in this one too, and his character is all about guns, making guns, shooting fantastic, upgrading, all that stuff. He's like Iron Man. That's his thing.
Copy.
And the campaign, like, it dragged out, but scheduling was an issue. And then the DM was just like, all right, let's just end it. So he like creates like a portal, and he just wants to kill everybody. And only my buddy's character gets sucked through the portal. Everyone else is just kind of like, well, all right, we're done anywhere. So it just ends.
I'm going to choose to not step through this portal.
Yeah, well, he like fell through it. It was like in the floor, and he got knocked into it.
Oh, got it.
He didn't mean to. He's like failed to save. That's all it was.
Oh shit. Oh fuck. Okay.
And so we're playing later, and we're in like another epic one. Because well, no, we were on like before that, and I'm like, yeah. So a portal opens in the sky, and this guy drops out of it.
Oh shit.
So we were playing 3.5
cool.
Pathfinder.
Okay.
And I used the modern character with the modern stats and system in that world. And he joined the party. So he's rolling with like barbarians and everything like that. And he's got his gun. And he just keeps modifying it. And we're hanging out with like wizards and stuff like that. So he's taking the modern gun and he's getting like actual like D&D enchantments on it. So and he gets like a psionic enchantment to like double the bullets. So like he fires 2 bullets, and then he starts taking D&D classes. So he goes into Zen archery and all that stuff. So he's now Zen gun.
But you mean like classes like at a community college type thing?
Yeah, sure.
Right. Like classes offered by some instructor.
Yeah.
Well,
that's actually another thing I like to do is I encourage characters to make players to make their characters actually train in the things that they're going to learn. So it's like, okay, I recognize you're a fighter, and if you want to take rogue, I need you to start sneaking around or asking people how to get better at it.
Hanging out with rogues, doing something like that.
Yeah. So this character was like hanging out with like samurai and stuff. And he's just like polishing his guns and making stuff and looking for, hey, I need this element, I need this stuff. And the wizard's just like, yeah, no problem, snap. And he's like, I love it here. And like so that campaign ends, and like later on we're playing again like years later, and they just run into this character who is now cursed to reoccur in all of my campaigns.
Dude, what the fuck? That's so funny. Like
And
an extra planar.
Yeah, he's cursed from that portal. So he appears, and I've had him as a BBG before, where he didn't know. Like he's like, listen, I hate this place. I've been to a lot of them. This one sucks. I'm leaving, and I don't care what it does to you. Yeah. So it's like, none of this matters. None of you matter. I'm making a portal. Good luck. And he's learned how to do it because he's hung out with enough wizards, and he's like level 18.
Hysterical. That is hysterical. If you're just joining, this is Dungeon Glitch talking about how he has essentially created a reoccurring like pseudo villain almost that was once a PC.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, in the game where he was the villain, the player who made him was in that party.
Beautiful.
So he's running through it, and like I kept dropping all of the clues, all the foreshadow, everything. Never thought about it. And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna go meet this guy. And he pulls off his hood, and it's the aged version of him. He's got like the beard and everything like that. And he's all scarred up from all the fights they had from all the previous things. It's like, yeah, that fireball where he got knocked over the waterfall, he still has those scars. It's still his story has not ended.
Yeah,
you're a new character. He has continued.
He's been on the same campaign basically. Like, yeah. That's sick.
He's my longest running joke, and he's awesome. So,
dude, like that's hilarious. Like, what's his name?
His name is Cube, and it's funny because like he was a joke character that was specifically made to troll my one of our other friends' characters. So he was like a scion, and his name was like Astaroth Nemesis. So he's like, cool, I'm gonna make Cube Nemesis.
That is hilarious.
And then it's like, he's like, I hate you. Why would you do that? And he's like, yeah, that's his name. That's what he does.
It's like, well,
he just shows up. Yeah. So like you would see like threes everywhere because it's like his name's Cube. So
that's
it's like
hilarious, dude. Shut up. And I mean, it is such a great. I mean, truly. Like, I mean, I try to do this with my sessions, but even more so whenever you can have a specific NPC that is doing this. But if you have one guy that is like landing jokes and adding poignancy, that's really hard to pull off, man. And as Koopy was saying, she goes, man, this is big brain DM moments. Completely agreed. Matt is a maestro. That is hysterical, man. Okay, well, this just made me think of it. This is not a question I have written down. Maybe that's why it feels good. But I have a party of 6 in one of the campaigns I'm running. I'm currently running 2 tables, and
nice.
It is, man, it's really been fun. I mean, we started off Dragons of Icespire Peak. It has since become a homebrew world that I'm calling War of the Stargazers. And dude, it's been super fun. And this isn't even the question, but I'm just curious because you've mentioned 3.E and 3.5. Are you familiar at all with the Silver Marches adventure guide?
I haven't read it. I think I might be mixing it up with West Marches.
You know what? I think that is one. This is slightly different. I'd be happy to like send it to you after the stream or whatever. I only bring it up because it is an amazing resource. I mean, it is. I mean, obviously 3rd edition and 3.5 are super lore rich and extremely well fleshed out in terms of the world and what was being presented. And I'm sure for guys like you and I, just dope as fuck. Like, I love that stuff. But what really got me was the Silver Marches was really, really helpful in aiding my homebrew. Like, it gave me, cities. It gave me lore to reference, orcish backstories, giant backstories, et cetera, et cetera. Oh my gosh! Mapronomicon just goes, I can't believe I pronounced it well. I did it. Mapronomicon just goes, jam-packed. I have 2 copies. Dude, listen. I think I was looking for information on Sundabar. That nice. Has been like a long destination that literally IRL has taken my party 7 months to get to about. They are now there. They are in the Festival of Light. But I found, as I was sort of diving into homebrew, I was like, oh man, this is like, this is a lot. I want to make sure I do it right. And for me, Silver Marches was an incredible compendium. I'm glad that helped you too, Matt, bro. That's awesome. But my question is this. I, for Christmas, offered, basically gave a free feat to the table. And,
cool.
you know, like, kind of cheesy or whatever. I actually, truth be told, got that from my buddy Brianimus, who's a DM and a wonderful individual and a super talented director. And I thought it was so cool. Like, he basically was like, all right, guys, like, Tasha's had just come out. It was, 2 years ago or whatever. And he basically was like, everyone gets a feat. The caveats are it has to be from Tasha's, and it has to play into your backstory. And like, I was like, dude, this is dope as fuck. Like, I'm so, yes, great. Oh my God. And so this past Christmas, I was like with my partner, we were chilling. Like, we hadn't played D&D for maybe a session. We were taking like a month off, and it felt heebie-jeebie-esque, right? I'm like, oh shit, like, I'm doing all this prep. I need to play. And so I texted the thread and was like, all right, boys and girls, old St. Nick's here. And and everybody gets a feat. And I didn't limit it to anything. But I was very specific. I was like, it really, like, this needs to be justified in your backstory. And like, I'm going to be a stickler about this. So don't try to just like add Savage Attacker or whatever, And
I take Lucky.
Yeah, dude, and I banned Lucky. Lucky was out.
Same.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I actually did? And give me your thoughts on this. I was like, you can take Lucky, but what it will be is it will be a maximum of 3, but you will roll a D4. And if you roll a 4, it counts as 3. If it's a 3, it counts as a 3, and then a 1 is a 1, and a 2 is a 2. So to basically, you roll 1d4 for all of time to determine how many lucky die you have. Because 3 is too much, dude. It's absurd. You know what I mean? And I offered that, and no one took it because they were like, fuck that. But I'm fine with it because I want to run a clean game. But dude, this is what I'm getting to, and I know I'm just rambling. I offered it to my table, and I'm telling you, dude, the whole reason I offered it is because we realized 6 months in, I mean, the party's like level 7, 8, I don't even know, that nobody spoke Elvish. Nobody in the campaign. Okay, it kept coming up. Like, all of the lore and backstory was these wood elves. They were like dominated the Sword Coast, etc., etc. And I really believe in realism. Like, I don't want to make it not fun, but I'm not just going to like give you stuff. And there's a reason that they have a certain amount of languages. There's a reason more educated like classes have more languages, etc. And I made it very clear. I was like, someone should take the linguist feat. Like, that's kind of why I'm doing this. Also, just FYI, there is a linguist feat. Nobody fucking took it. Okay. So that's fine. That's okay. But now one of the players who I love and who's a great dude, but who's like constantly a pain in my butt, he essentially wants to learn Elvish, which according to the Dungeons Master Guide, it's going to take him, about 8 to 12 months to learn. And like, I'm just curious, like, how would, like, because I have some ideas. There's been times where in some of the bigger cities, some areas with big libraries, big vaults, I have encouraged him to potentially go to make intelligence checks with advantage, etc. But like, I'm just kind of trying to honestly farm you for ideas on this, Matt. Like
sure.
how would you treat that if someone was like, okay, I want to learn the language over the course of the campaign?
So, well, let's be specific then. So what is this character about?
He is a Way of the Open Hand monk. Background is a I'm blanking on the actual name, an urchin. His mom is still alive in Waterdeep. He very much was sort of an on the fringe, kind of a Oliver Twist-esque, kind of street rat with a heart of gold. And
Sure.
And he is now sort of joined with this party. I'll just kind of save you the justification as to why, but one of his close friends is with the party, so he's rolling with. But he's a very stoic individual, and one that, because he's a monk, I mean, oftentimes just presents to the world like a commoner, like a rancher, a farmhand, right? Until he's like thwacking people and stunning them and fucking up the whole thing. But he's a very please.
Oh, so what I would do, the immediate thing that I think of is his next monk levels. He finds a guide on the next abilities that he's going to learn, but it's in Elven.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Let's go. That's so good.
And it's like, you want to learn this stuff, you're going to get it next level. You're going to speak Elvish good enough next level when you become a better monk. And that's because you've trained with this. So I need you to at least bring this to a couple people and be like, what the hell does this word say? I don't know I know what this one is. What's this? And it's like, oh yeah, that's...
Bro, you are stunning so hard on me right now, Matt, and I love it. Like I am truly, like, this is so good. That's so good. Because you're giving him something he absolutely wants, and the means by which to get it is also something he absolutely wants, but I'm forcing him to kind of play my game a little bit, to seek out a library, to seek out some sort of sage that's well-versed and highly, you know, linguistically talented. Dude, that is so good.
If you want to mess with him, though,
yes.
So that's the regular version of it?
Yeah.
Put words in the margin in another language.
Oh my God, that's like someone owned the book and was like adding further insight.
And now and now they got to find that out, and that's going to be the lead to your next quest, your next big arc.
All right, hold up. Dude, that is so good. That's so good. People, oh man, both Mapro and Cooper are just like, man, Mapronomicon, I missed this. Campaign settings guide for Forgotten Realms 3rd edition gave me the references I needed for my own settings. Silver Marches helped even more in that regard. Amazing, dude. Thank you. Or I'm so sorry, I don't mean to mislabel you, but thank you so much, Mapro, for sharing that. I have been looking for more campaign guides, and man, whenever we're done, Matt, I might just send that over to you because I'm curious what you would think. Dude, that is so good. Okay, I mean, I wasn't even going to do this, dude. Neither one of those questions were on there, but I'm like just desperate to get your opinion on this. Can I ask you one more?
Of course.
Okay, cool. Dude, okay. I'm tempted to see if I actually have, you know what? No, I'm not going to bother with the map. I'll just describe it. So this happened maybe 10 sessions ago. And it was very much, I mean, truly, the party loved it. Like, I had a blast, but it was a moment that I have reflected on a couple times because I've been like, shit, was I too much of a stickler? Was I too much of like, I'm rolling the dice, I'm taking the number? Because I'm not going to say I've like never fudged a dice roll, but like I really don't fudge dice rolls. Like it's kind of one of those things where I really like, I feel like that's, and it's also like, I also love poker. I love like statistics. You know what I mean? So there's a part of me that I'm kind of like, I love risk.
5%.
Dude,
that's all you get.
Exactly.
5%.
100%. I'm like, yeah, man, like the world is a cruel place. But okay, so I had this situation. The party has pressed into the tombs of this ancient elven leader, considered by many to be the first mage, the first sort of member of the spell guard. If you're familiar with Silver Marches, then you will know Deccan Thar, a legendary sort of blade singing wizard, and very much sort of a member of responsible for sort of transferring high concept arcane to more of a digestible kind of for the masses type spellcasting. But this was more or less like the first dungeon I'd built. I mean, I was on Dungeon Draft. I built a couple maps, an NPC that was a rogue that had double crossed them, that had been truly one of the first elements of Homebrew that I brought in like 2 years ago. And all I knew, I was like, dude, he's working with the BBEG and he's going to trick them. And I don't even know if they're ever going to find out. But now they're on his tracks. They've broken into the tomb. They're down within. I've run multiple resource drains. There's been several traps. Like I am throwing the kitchen sink at the party, okay? And they get down, right? And they get down, and it's a party of 6. Errol Glavetray is the name of this rogue, and he's more or less standing before this altar. And one kind of reoccurring theme is the interaction of the chaotic evil storm god, Thalos. He's sort of a major player. He is sort of very much an antagonist to our Tempest Domain cleric, and there's some backstory history there. But this is now sort of the first time that like Thalos is going to step from the astral to the material plane.
Ooh.
Like it is a massive, like huge crescendo of the second act as we move kind of downhill into the third act of this campaign. And I'm like rock hard for this in terms of the lore, and you know what I mean? Like I'm ready. And man, the way I had the mechanic designed was that there was it's called a Dawnbringer. There was a sword that was held by Decanthar. It was basically a magical device. It was also attuned to the astral field. And thank you, Mapro. And the idea was that he was able to use this device that had been physically tuned to the astral field to allow Thalos access. And his intention was to put in the Dawnbringer, allow this like electral conductivity to stretch between the material and the astral, and allow this moment, almost like a summons, where Thalos can now step into the material plane. But I had written it just because I wanted there to be some justification, that there needed to be like a host. Like something needed to be there to transfer this energy through the Dawnbringer. And I was going to try, honestly, to like trap one of the party, to potentially sort of get them close and have them make a series of constitution saves, right? As this god literally ripples over their form, trying to wrestle control from them. And dude, they rolled an insight check. It was a beautiful moment of RP where I think the ranger is coming up to aid Errol Glavetrey, and they end up throwing a like fistful of dust into his face to kind of start off the combat and try to, impose disadvantage on him. I didn't expect it, and I didn't expect the insight check, and they absolutely crushed it. But here's my question: is it put me in a position of, I've written my own mechanics of the dungeon. I've justified it. I feel safer as a DM having those mechanics in place with a spell save DC, right? With like a understanding of how it's happening, to then let my players like undo it or attack it, so to speak, right? And whenever they refused to kind of transfer it, Thalos then transferred onto Errol Glavetrey, like the Lieutenant BBEG. So instead of having Thalos and this rogue, it was like Thalos rogue. And I had it designed that you basically got 3 Constitution saving throws, and if you failed all 3, Thalos like took over your body.
Full possession.
Exactly, full fucking possession. So, dude, I think you can tell where this is going.
I love it.
Yeah. We are still rock hard from this exchange, and I think you can tell where this is going is that, of course, he saved the BBEG failed all 3 of his Constitution saving throws.
Wow.
His body is taken over by Thalos, right? And it led to a super cool moment. It was a great fight. By the end of it, you heard Errol Glavetrey's voice move from no to sort of only the storm remains. In that type of shit where it's like by the end of the combat, you saw this like boneless mound of just gore and soft tissue almost slip from this kind of tomb of electricity and just lifelessly slop onto the ground beneath. It felt to me like it was dope. It definitely was like really fun and satisfying. But me, the DM, like the combat was way too easy, man. Like they were supposed to have 2 high-level foes that were really challenging them. And instead, it just became 1 because of my own homebrewed mechanics. So, like, I felt good about it. I rolled with it. But I'm really genuinely curious, like, how Dungeon Glitch would have played that out.
I wouldn't feel bad about it because that's a great story.
Cool. Yeah.
That's really cool. And I wish I could have seen you act that out, because that little snippet you just gave us, that was dope.
Thanks, dude. Sick.
Yeah. So okay. So one, I don't have a problem with that at all. I think it was fantastic, and having that ending work that way, I think it's okay for players to like have like a little breather of relief when sometimes the dice do roll in their favor and they didn't have to get their asses kicked.
That's a great point, man.
By 2 things.
That's a great point.
So like that's like that's fate winning in their corner for once.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can always be like, yeah, I didn't make it this way. You were gonna fight both. So.
Oh, I told them. I definitely was like, guys.
Yeah, and then they go, okay, awesome, good.
Yeah.
It's nice to know sometimes someone's looking out for us. Praise Thalos.
Dude.
It's like
no, man, you're right, because it is about the story. And
yeah, it's dope,
dude. And we shouldn't be afraid sometimes. Like, yeah, like sometimes you're playing the like Bone Devil, and he rolls a couple like nat 2s.
Yeah,
like that's gonna happen. That's a good point, man.
Yeah,
Koopy just goes,
it's okay to have big bads die super easy, and campaigns just evaporate. It's okay for it to happen.
You know what? You're right. Because whenever I get concerned with like protecting my plot points, like, I run the risk of not really playing D&D.
Yeah, you're forcing it.
You know what I mean? That's such, dude. Well put. Because
it's one of my. Some of my best stories come from exactly that. Especially if it comes from like the players who have outsmarted me. Mm-hmm. Those are my favorite stories.
Yeah.
I got one if you want to go into.
Oh my God, please. Yes. Because like I think that is the type of thing where I will read posts sometimes where it's very clear that a DM feels frustrated by the play of their table or like the great move by their table, and it's sort of like, dude, that's the juice.
Yeah,
like, you know,
that's the memory.
What I mean?
That's
like,
what you want.
That's what you're going for.
Yeah,
but dude, please, like, tell us, and then I promise you guys, I'm gonna pop into some of these comments because I really appreciate them. But what was the moment, Matt, where you've kind of got you got it flipped on your head?
So we go back to that my main first 1 to 20 story.
Yeah.
At around level 3, the characters were running around a festival, and cool. I wanted to get them better with skill checks and test them out. So I'm like, here's an obstacle course, and
like a literal physical obstacle course.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So it's like, you're in town, it's safe, have fun, make rivals. So they run into like a rival party at the same time. That's just a little bit better. Yeah. So the monk finds someone he hates. The archer loses the archery contest, and so when the archer loses the archery contest, the consolation prize, because it was going to be like, if you win, you get a +1 bow.
Sick. Cool.
None of you have magic items. That's going to be the first one.
That's dope.
So he's like, I got this, and he just didn't get it.
Yeah, man.
So
it dies.
So the runner-up prize. And I'm like, you win an arrow of slaying. And he's like, that's awesome. I'm like, no, read it. And it's slay like Christmas sleigh.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, what the hell is this? He's like, whatever. And he just puts it in his bag and forgets about it. So around level 9, they've been harassed by a wizard who is summoning like meteors. And he's like a real problem. Cool. And they've been up against this ogre mage that has been a mercenary against them in numerous campaigns. So like, it's like, if you want to pay me, I'll stop. They just pay me better. Yeah. So they have to keep fighting this ogre mage, and then they have to fight them both at the same time, because the wizard came to recognize that every time they fight, this ogre mage has the party's number. So of course he's going to hire him. He's like the local jerk that it's like, it doesn't work out great for the people that hire him, but he continues to do his job to the letter.
Yes,
so,
right. He's capable.
Yeah. So they realize that he gets hired, and they, instead of following the obvious breadcrumbs, they start stalking the ogre mage until they find out where the base of operations is, because he has to check in. So they do that, and they find out that he lives on top of a mountain, of course. Sure. Like, I need some mountains, some meteors. If I'm going to crash everything, I'm going to be up high. It is, it's above the snow line. There's a storm. They sneak in under the cover of like a little mini blizzard. Damn. And they engage. They go all out, just like assassinating as they go through, just killing and everything until they find the and it sets a good stage, because it's the wizard and the ogre mage who can fly and is like 3 or 4 categories level higher than them, challenge rating levels higher than them. They are outmatched, and the wizard just says, you know what, I was gonna wait, I had some other things to do, and he just reaches his hand up Sephiroth style and starts summoning this meteor. Yes. And he's like, we're just gonna do it now.
Okay.
And it's like you got 3 rounds until this unstoppable meteor comes and will destroy half the kingdom. And he's like, so my buddy who's playing this paladin archer goes, oh yeah, and he just pulls out the arrow of slaying. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, the arrow of slaying. Read it. I'm like,
does it create
it all clicks. Yeah. So they're in a snowstorm. The wizard is like near the cliff, and he's just like, jingle bells, motherfucker, and just hits it. it turns into a sled, and I just give it. I'm like, how does this work? Bull rush. It has to be bull rush.
Yeah.
So this wizard gets pinned to the front of it because he's a wizard and he wasn't ready to deal with that up front. And he just gets stuck with it and he goes over the side of the cliff, and that's the end.
Dude, let's fucking go, man. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, right? I mean, like, come on. And like, correct me if I'm wrong. Bull Rush is a 3rd edition spell, right?
It was a mechanic that you could just charge into people.
A mechanic.
Yeah.
Sick. Yeah.
It works like shove in 5e now, but
Right.
it was like, yeah, you just push someone and you keep pushing them, and it's based on strength.
Yeah.
And like, he's a wizard, he doesn't have strength, so he just went right over the like I rolled it, and he was close on his checks, but he didn't make it. And I'm like, and I looked at his stuff, and he did not have Featherfall or Fly prepared.
Oh,
I'm like,
Lord,
you have legit
dude.
killed the BBG and saved the kingdom, because like they had temples and stuff to go to stop them from doing everything, and they took the fight straight to them, and they were just like, they killed them with a joke at him.
Dude, that is so good. Matt,
And
like,
when
I
that
love
happens, yeah, like the ogre mage are just like, wow, and just flies away.
Yeah. He's like, I did prepare Fly. Anyway, I'm out. Dude, like, I love the willingness, because you gotta, like, yeah, man, like, you need to let, I mean, sometimes it's a half-baked idea and it might not work. You know what I mean? But if it is viable, you have to reward your players for thinking outside the box. Otherwise, you're basically saying, like, don't think outside the box. You know?
Yeah.
That's a great one, man.
He hit it with a one-liner, and it was just like, yep. And he rolled high enough, and he just crushed it. There's nothing I can do. You have legitimately completed this task, and it is amazing. It's one of my favorite stories to tell.
Dude, I absolutely love that. I feel really bad that I missed Mapronomicons because it was also smoking joke. That was a great pun. I was late on it, but I got a lulz, all right? My belly moved. I want you to say. Mapro also said, Maddie, that he had 3 nat 20s against a 12-headed Pyro Zero Hydra. Unbelievable.
Awesome.
It was a balling session. Yeah, no doubt, dude. That's super duper sick. That's so great. I would die in that situation. Yeah, man, people are loving that. That is a absolutely brilliant maneuver and such a cool mechanic.
3.5. If you rolled 320s, it was instant death to whatever you hit.
Whoa!
And I would love to see, like, whatever weapon they were using to do it, to just ice this Hydra in one shot.
Bro,
I love it.
Give me a break, man. Yeah, that kind of stuff is really, really beautiful and intense. I'm playing Elden Ring as a sorcerer, as like a mage.
Cool.
And dude, I had never played a Souls game, man. Like, it was and still is, like, a rude awakening. You know, like, I really enjoy video games. Like, I don't really mind if I die a bunch, whatever. But this game is so fucking hard, man. It's crazy to me. But it also, they sometimes empower you with these spells like Comet Azure or these really high-level things that are very hard to execute and pull off, but if executed, can one-shot a boss. You know what I mean? And like, I like that mechanic in D&D. Like, if you roll 2 nat 20s in a row, like, that should mean something. Like, that's really fucking hectic. That's 2 savage criticals, like, you know.
Like, the numbers on it, like, it's 5% for the first one, but like the second one is like something like 300. Yeah. The 1 out of 300 or something like that. I'm awful with math. If Kat is here, she'll just tell me off the top of her head. But yeah, it's like, but yeah, it's absurd. So like, the way the mechanic went was you need to roll a 20, and then a hit confirm. So if you could do like a 17, that would do it.
Copy. But, like as the third attack, or was that all included in one? Okay, got it.
It's all one attack. So it's like if I have a crossbow and I hit a 20 and another 20, and everyone's like,
damn. So it's almost like the end of a frame in bowling, where like if you keep bopping it, like you keep going.
Yeah.
Dude, I like that.
Yeah, 3.0 was kind of. They also kind of had like critical fumbles, so it'd be like almost the same thing. So
and dude, maybe we roll into that here in a second, because I did have a section that I typed out last night at roughly 11:15 p.m. Pacific, called Rapid Fire. Okay.
Ooh.
Yatta! And really the idea was that, man. I was like, you know what? Like, I knew, Matt, that you would just be like dropping bombs, dude. This has been truly like such a treat, such a fucking joy. But but even more so,
I'm having so much fun,
dude. Good, man.
Yeah.
Me too. Like these are basically like binary kind of either or choices, you know, like, and they're kind of D&D related.
Sure.
Before I hop into that, I do want to kind of catch up on this real quick because Matt Bro hit me with some fucking heat talking about those 3 nat 20s against a 12-headed Hydra. Said that it was yield D10 damage arrows to boot. Wow. She was a fighter, pumped everything into the bow. She says, in 28 years of gaming, I've seen 2 instances of someone rolling 3 nat 20s in a row. And then, parenthetical, I've seen it other times, but the dice were loaded. Wow, that's ridiculous. Mapronomicon, are you literally saying they were physically loaded die? That's crazy. Because I know that there's ways that you can get like dice bots that are super shady. If someone had a physical loaded die, that's like dealing from the bottom of the deck. Like they can't play at the table anymore. Like that's shady. Anyway, let us know. Guys, I want everyone to buckle up, okay? Take a deep breath. I am going to play, of course, the Storm Brewing. There it is. And are you ready, Matt? Can I hit you with this rapid fire?
Yeah.
There is no wrong answer. But first, here we go. Standard array, point buy, 4d6 drop lowest, or 3d6?
4d6 drop lowest.
Same, you're my boy.
Yeah.
Okay, giants or dragons?
Giants.
Red dragon or blue dragon?
Blue dragon.
Frost giant or storm giant?
Frost giant.
Sick. Let's go. Night Wonder, get in here. I love you. This is this great space for D&D. We want to know what you're working on. We're 2 DMs right now chopping it up, but I'm in the middle of rapid fire, so I must continue. It's okay. Frost giant, love that. Spellcaster or melee?
Melee.
Sick. D8 or D12? I don't know why I even put that.
D12.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Like D12
it's
is
so
like
novelty.
Exactly. No one ever gets to roll a D12. Like every D&D player is thirsty for a D12. As I even said it, I'm like, bro, it's D12. Okay.
In that case, I recommend you check out Coyote and Crow. Their entire system is based on D12s.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, like you're gonna roll like 16 D12 at a time, or 10 for like for skill checks. It's like,
dude, interesting.
D12s. So you're gonna need something with like frames because these are gonna roll forever.
Because I'm trying to think, like a D12 average is what, like a 7? So I guess that's interesting. If you're rolling 3d12s, you're getting right in that range. That's very, very interesting. Okay, Koopy says spellcaster. Yeah, guys, let us know, okay? We're going on with the rapid fire. I got to keep pumping. I got to keep the pace up.
Yeah.
D8, D12, D12. As I said it, I was like, yeah, D12's fucking sick. Okay, great axe or great sword?
Great sword.
Let's go.
I know I said D12, but...
No, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, sometimes the math adds up with those 2 D6s.
Oh, yeah.
Elf or dwarf?
Elf.
Tabaxi or tiefling?
Oh my.
I know. It's tough.
Tiefling. Yeah, sure.
Okay, turtle or turtle? Heads up, we stand turtles on this channel.
Yeah, turtles are dope.
There we go. Turtle it is. Okay. Produce flame or firebolt?
Oh, firebolt.
Cool, sick. All right. Healing word or cure wounds?
Cure wounds.
Okay, I like that. Cure wounds. My boy wants some range. Fireball or lightning bolt?
Fireball. It's the classic.
I know it is the classic, but that 120-foot range on lightning bolt is
I know.
sick. It's tough.
I know.
They're both 8d6. It's a really tough call. Okay, hunter's mark or hex?
Oh, hex.
Let's go. I knew you'd pick hex, dude. You're a warlock through and through. Tavern or brothel?
Oh boy. Let's say brothel.
Yeah, I don't know why. I was like, dude, I'm just gonna throw this one in there. Okay.
Yeah.
If someone attempts to sleight of hand one of your players, perception check or passive perception?
Passive.
Cool.
Yeah.
Respect. I also do passive, which can feel cold-blooded sometimes, but that's how it's written in the book. I agree. Okay, wizard or sorcerer?
Sorcerer.
Sick. Respect. Cleric or warlock?
I want to say cleric, Cleric's the right answer. Warlock.
Yo, hey, we're not here for the right answer. I love that. That's so true. Okay, cleric or warlock, going lock. Fighter or paladin?
Fighter.
Okay, respect,
Fighter
dude.
all day.
Respect. Druid or ranger?
Druid.
Respect as well. Yes or no? Should cats have dark vision?
Cats. Low light doesn't exist, so I'm gonna say no.
Let's go, Matt. Respect it. Okay, last one. Yes or no? A nat 20, nat 1 is an auto success or an auto failure? Yes or no?
On attacks, yes. On skills, no.
Cool. Respect, dude. Okay, and this is the end of the rapid fire, bro.
That's fun.
You can't hear it, but I just played a bugle blast, SFX.
Hey.
In homage. Man, Matt, this has been so much fun, dude.
Yeah.
Like, this has been
great.
so much fun. Like, truly. I just for clarity, and then I want to kind of like touch on how we can support you, Matt, like what you're working on, like where we can find that, all that good stuff. But I just kind of wanted to share personally because like I'm an actor, writer. I've been in that sort of industry space for quite some time, but I'm very new to Twitch, and I'm relatively new to presenting publicly to the world, like as a DM that's obsessed with D&D. You know what I mean? And Matt has been one of the, I mean, he like, and I don't mean to like blow smoke up your ass. Like I think of you as like a truly like a pillar in the TTRPG space and someone that is extremely, extremely knowledgeable. And also, I think, I mean, just anecdotally, but like widely appreciated and respected. And for obvious reasons. I mean, you guys have seen like he's an extremely intelligent dude that takes a ton of care in how he tries to design a game and run a story. But there's also a high level of like consideration and giving of space to others, Matt, that is truly so heartwarming. And maybe it's just because I'm coming from the background of like an actor in LA, and actors are so competitive, man. Like it's so viewed as like zero sum, even when it's not. Like some of my best friends are actors. They are also like late 20, early 30s white guys. And even then, we're not even necessarily competing. Like obviously if we're going out for the same literal role on the same actual show, then yes, sure. But like in general, you know, it is I don't know. I've just been so uplifted by your willingness in the sort of consistent stance you have of just trying to be inclusive, man. Like it's super meaningful to me personally. And I put that out there because if you guys are on Twitter or you're on Instagram, you should follow at Dungeon Glitch because he is a absolute font of D&D resource and just an all-around good guy. So I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart, man. And think about how we can best support you. I want to cruise through some of these. The rapid fire is sick. Let's go. Koopy is the spellcaster. Respect that. Trek Ninja goes, reminds me of a Shadowrun. Basically only D6 up to like 20 or 30 at a time. Interesting. Yeah, that's one thing. I played Call of Cthulhu as a player. I've never run it. But I would really like to play some more just tabletops, period, because I think it would expand...
Does,
like, you know, like how I'm thinking about dice and how they can tell a story, and it's just useful. Mappernovel kind of goes Tiefling, but old school. 2nd edition Tiefers. Let's go. Yo, so you got like the smoke, you got like the bad smell and like the brimstone. Like, let's go.
Those are the only Tieflings I know.
Yeah, respect.
Those are the only ones I know.
Respect.
You know?
Like, for some reason, that deep lore is super, super uplifting. Koopy goes, I picked the furry. Respect. We're going Tabaxi. Oh my gosh. Shirts. Oh yes, Matt, I forgot you run a merch shop.
Oh,
Thank you so much, Matt Pro, for reminding me. And then Matt Pro goes, yeah, we followed you on the Twitch. We've engaged in deep conversation. Yeah, Dungeon Glitch is the man. Dude, if I can, Matt, could I what would be the best way? Should I just drop the, it's a website, right? Like, should we drop that in the chat?
Yeah, if you want to show off Jumped Firefly, you can just jumpfirefly.com.
Cool. I'm gonna go.
That'll
ahead.
It'll give you the homepage.
I'm gonna hop over to this over here and just go to it.
Yeah, all of our proceeds have always gone to charity and helping out the community.
Fuck yeah, man.
So,
oh, dude, that's rad.
fun.
That's rad. Okay, this is ridiculous.
But, yeah, it's my goofy outlet where I get to make ridiculous shirts like this.
Dude, you made that shirt?
Yeah.
Bro, Matt, that's it, man. I love that. Hold up. Okay, hang on. I'm just having a weird technical difficulty with my mouse.
Sure, sure.
Hang on. Okay, cool. So can you give me the domain name one more time, Maddie?
It's Gemmed Firefly.
GemmedFirefly.com. Cool. Okay, guys, I'm pulling this up on the stream right now. Oh, sick. Dude, these are sick. How am I just seeing these? No. I've clicked through on this. I've clicked through. Crying is a free action. Yee! That is so true. Oh my God. Okay, everybody go check that Gem Firefly. That is so sick. Okay. Dude, I've got one more thing, Matt. Is it cool?
Yeah.
Do we have like 5-10 minis?
Hey, whatever
Can
you
we
need.
do this? Okay, sick.
I cleared my schedule for this.
Matt, you are so generous. This truly has been such a treat. Like we've followed each other. Like I'm familiar with your brand and what you do, but it's been so fun to chop it up with you, man. Like,
yeah, likewise. This is fantastic. I knew it would be. It's great.
As did I. I was like, dude, this is gonna be so much fun. But I'm now like, especially knowing that you run online games, like I'm desperate to just sort of like show up, mute myself, turn my camera off, and simply like be in chat. And likewise, I want you to know. I mean, if it's next week, if it's in a year, I'm getting you at my table, dude. Like
likewise.
I desperately want you to come in and play. I mean, sure, like a PC, but something else where you and I can cook up an angle. Because I recently had a good friend who's a voice actor, a big D&D guy, came in and he played an NPC that was like more like a PC, but he had a lot of motivations, many of them contrary to the party's goals, and that pressure of watching them sort of role play was so enjoyable and so freeing, like as a dungeon master. So, guys, if you have enjoyed this, please drop Dungeon a follow. He's the man. Like he's been instrumental. Like I feel like you were a huge motivator in me even getting on Twitch. If only that you were like, look, if you love D&D, it's about what are you providing in terms of content. And like, I mean, for me, I'm a writer actor. Like I produce a ton of short form stuff, but I'm like, what am I making that's really D&D-esque? And then it seemed to me that at minimum, I could create a space where I showed people my process. I talked them through it. I shared with them some of my voice acting, and I tried to maybe, I don't know, empower them with tools to like add to their game. You know what I mean? In the same way that I guarantee you, whenever this monk gets to level 11, he's getting a pamphlet in Elvish, dude. Like,
there you go.
you want to get that larger monk hit die? Cool. You got to translate it.
Here's how to do it. Yeah, and you just find it in a dungeon.
Yeah,
it's like you just find it on a corpse. It's in a backpack on a skeleton.
Dude.
It's like, yeah.
Yes. Like floating face down in a river. I like that.
It's like, what is this? It's like, oh well, it's got you're seeing pictures of like a diagram of a body. Some of this is starting to click. This is familiar, but you don't know the language.
Dude. I love the pressure points flavor. And yes, Mapronomicon.
Yes.
They just said that level 11 monks are boss mode. And you're absolutely right. Yeah. Especially Way of the Open Hand. Like, this dude is fucking people up. Dude, that's so funny. A graph of pressure points.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah. All like the Naruto type stuff.
Dude, exactly. It's like, yo, is this some sort of like pressure release? Is this acupuncture? Oh no, it's not.
It's this chakra thing here. You just hit all these 64 palms. What is this?
And I vomited. I just got nauseous. What's going on? So dude, this was, you know what, and I'm realizing I probably need to punch up the music a bit here. So your boy's gonna have to slide over. Give me 1 second while I pull up my D&D playlist. But man, I told you that my party was heading to Sundabar, and they literally were traveling from the Sword Coast. And it was, for me, a pretty funny moment because we had just finished Dragon of Icespire Peak. Like, they'd killed the dragon. Like, the book has more or less been completed. Yes. Spirits are so high. And I have been, laying the groundwork for for like my homebrew, for this big bad who is an NPC. I've teased him out. At this point in time, I was like playing D&D like a mystery novel. Like I was not giving enough information to my players. But they basically were like, hey, we need to go to this city across the map. It's way across the way to accomplish this goal that was very important to them. And it really opened the world up for me. That's what brought me to Silver Marches. That's what led to me trying to create random encounters and still ground them and connect them in the world, right? It like leveled me up as a DM. But I knew that whenever they got to Sundabar, it was going to be the midst of the Festival of Light, this very sort of, beginning of the year, almost like Fat Tuesday meets New Year's Eve. It's sort of like a time to cut loose, a time where like class and social boundaries are kind of thrown out the window and people are just out there cheek to jowl getting pissed. And, I had an archery combat. I had what was called the Unarmed Man, which was designed with the monk in mind, but it was basically, no weapons, no armor. You're in a fucking pit 90 feet across from each other. Go nuts. And of course, I did not factor in that like my Tempest cleric would come in and it was intense. Like I maybe, like that was okay. I was cool with spellcasters because he could come in and stun him, but I shouldn't have allowed for any healing. Like it prolonged it. That's my word to the wise. But I say that because I wanted to have a joust. Like it was important to me. It was something that I thought would be, super duper fun, and something that of course is so like rooted in the world of just high fantasy, of kind of where we're at and kind of how we're playing. So
paying homage to the classics.
Exactly, which I feel like I as a starter DM was very afraid of. I didn't want to appear cliched. And it's something that more and more I'm like, no, man, like embrace those reference points because they ground your world and they really up immersion. And if you just tweak the smallest little thing to make it specific to your campaign, then it's unique and you're not really running into that problem as much. So I would love if we could, dude, if we could just run a joust real quick.
Oh, sure.
I will, is it cool if we run it with your warlock? I know that's probably not like necessarily an ideal build, but
Sure, no, I'm gonna get bodied. This is great.
With that high con, it will be good. What's the warlock's name?
Oh my, this is Vinty Barrelbreaker.
Vinty!
Dwarf.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, all my dwarves have Boston accents.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Get in here. My dad's from Boston, so I will feel like I am in trouble, and I'm ready. I'm ready for that. Okay, Vinty Barrelbreaker. I've colored you as the Black Knight, who was very much. I mean, his name was literally Edgeblade. I played him like Christian Bale's Batman. He's just like out here like taking shit way too seriously.
Where's my lance,
dude? Exactly. I'm not wearing hockey pants. It's just like, okay, man. Like, have some water, take a break. But just full disclosure, like I didn't necessarily share this with my party in terms of, breaking down like how I came to build the mechanics of this. I more or less was like, roll this, roll that. But, and I'm just bringing up the sheet right now because I'm going to give you the actual specifics. And then
cool.
Ideal for me, man, is let me like explain it to you. Then let's just do it. Let's just run it real quick. And where the fuck is this?
So does this 5e not have joust rules?
Dude, I don't think so. Like I never
looked it up.
I googled Joust D&D, and there's many, like Reddit has some ideas. There's Wally the DM has a pretty cool one. They both for me felt a little bit like just attack roll dependent. And I wanted to find a way to sort of, because in my mind I was trying to think about like what is really happening in a joust, right? I mean, people are charging at each other, 25 to 35 miles an hour on the back of a horse. They are then using an enormous amount of leverage generated by, 10, 12-foot lance to pierce this individual. And, really obviously the goal was to unhorse your opponent, to sort of send them tumbling. So in my mind, I was like, okay, cool. For this is going to be some version of an attack roll versus a con save. That to me made sense in terms of a mechanic. To go further, it needed to be, you know, and I'm just trying to bring up the actual things. It needed to, the attack had to first hit for, you know, to necessitate the con save. And then lastly, if the con save was lower than the attack roll by 6 or more, then I considered that he's unhorsed. He has been like tossed to the ground. So it's best of 3 rounds in the joust.
Cool.
If you simply land an attack that hits, but doesn't unseat the other opponent, that person gets 1 point. And there's only 1 point awarded per round. So theoretically, if you hit me and I hit you, but my differential was bigger, i.e. my con save was lower, you would get the point. If you unhorsed me during that round, you would get 2 points instead of 1.
Ah.
And then it's basically...
It's not an automatic win?
It's not... you know, dude, originally I did play it that way, like in my head. Again, I had not explained the rules, and this is just full transparency. I hadn't explained the rules. In my head, it was automatic win. But then in like the semifinals, I think, our paladin, who's the reason I built the joust, rolled a nat 1 on her con save and got unhorsed. And we hadn't dealt with the unhorsing yet, and it was a super dramatic moment where it's like the crowd, you know, kind of like the whole stadium space just collectively gasps as silence just overwhelms the space, right? And I could tell she was embarrassed. Like, I sort of just read the room, and in me, I was like, you know what? It's 2 points, not 1. And let's just play best of 3. And she still ended up losing, but she unhorsed him the next round. And then ended up losing in the third. So it was like epic as fuck. Again, this guy was like Edgeblade. He's the Black Knight. He's not removing his visor. This dude's a heel. You know, so the crowd is like absolutely behind the paladin, which was fun. And I mean, I more just share that with you because, and with the chat, because I'm not normally that way. I mean, as I explained with the Thalos taking over the Lieutenant BBEG, like I am too beholden to my rules and to my homebrew. But in this moment, you got to let the rule of fun take over, and kind of the rule of storytelling, in my opinion, rise to the surface. So that's just full disclosure, because that's a great instinct, and that was my first instinct, was unhorsed is automatic win. But I've since sort of rolled it back. So
sure. No, you get stakes, so that makes sense.
Exactly, dude. Yeah. Exactly. So so guys, if you of course would like to put any bits, if you would like to wager any bits, we do have Frederick Von Teese, which is an NPC. He's sort of like kind of a Humpty Dumpty fellow. In my mind, he's from Oslo. He's from Norway, but a really nice guy. He's a Knight of the Silver. He's basically a level 6 fighter and a level 4 blade singing wizard. So has a sort of a lot of kind of balance, a lot of ways he can sort of approach solving a problem. But in a joust, well, there's only one way, And so, man, for shoots and giggles, let me just go ahead and kick up over to the Colosseum soundtrack. Diddly diddly doo. This is undoubtedly going to be some like Adobe After Effects.
You're not going to want to
miss here we go. All right.
Battle of the Brands hot
Excuse
tub
me, I'm getting the Battle of the Brands hot tub.
weekend.
Hold up. And we're past it. Okay. We are in. Chat, please let me know if this music is overwhelming. I didn't have a chance to sort of sound check it like I did the other stuff, so I do not want Matt to be drowned out. Please let me know if these levels are fun. But Matt, you see, as sort of filling this space and entering on the eastern side, I don't know if Vinti normally has a horse, but it has been provided for him. Nor do I know if one has been a lance, but as it's sort of fitted to this gauntleted glove, and as you sort of step through the eastern kind of facade of the pit of Sundabar, you hear this rising as close to a 6,000 voiceless mob threatens to overwhelm the space with their roars and cheers. Across from you is a rather large-looking human knight. You see him in a visorless kind of helmet, conical point, in what appears to be a very heavily worn half-plate, kind of stretching over a very full torso and frame. Over his sort of gauntlets and kind of sigilled into the actual breastplates and shoulder plates of his armor, you do see a crescent and a twinkling star, the sigils of his god Saloon. And as you hear the bugles blast, and as his horse sort of gathers in the collection of dust, and both war horses lunge towards each other, if you could, give me an attack roll, followed by a Constitution saving throw.
If it's not against the spirit of this, Vinty would cheat and use Eldritch Blast.
Oh,
by hiding it alongside his thing, because it'll push him back 10 feet of it.
1,000%. I love this. And because of the situation, and because Koopy goes, my bets is with the edgy one. Yeah, wise. 100%. So the only person you need to beat with this sleight of hand is Frederick. So go ahead and just give me a sleight of hand as you guys are sort of.
Yeah, let's see what we got here.
The 60 feet becomes 30, and the 30 becomes 10.
Sleight of hand of 15.
15, no problem. So as you sort of, hunker in and you raise up this shield, sort of putting your weight fully centered in your saddle and behind this lance, Vinty just sort of uses his other hand to grab the lance and slip his right free. So go ahead and give me an attack roll. And I'm going to do the same.
-1. A natural 1.
Dude, I also just rolled a natural 1. 2 DM champions. Oh my god, I fucking love it. Okay, so so as you sort of see, Frederick, his eyes light up, and there's a brief moment as he sort of tries to lean over, pitching his momentum in the center of his gravity away from this long, threatening lance. At the same time, as your left hand grabs the lance to provide freedom to your right to cast this Eldritch Blast, there's a brief moment of hesitation. Shit, can he see me? You try to pivot back, try to hide your hand behind the actual pommel of the lance, and in doing so, fire your Eldritch Blast into the lance itself. It skitters, almost losing control, and almost like a pool cue that's been dropped over a pool table, scatters across the top of you. You see Frederick almost fall as he is so tightened up that he is afraid of the slightest movement or threat. He sort of lunges back, and neither attacks hit. You guys see, as you guys kind of now go to opposite sides from where you started, there's, come the fuck on! The crowd sort of hungry and confused as here in the finale of the Joust, these two champions seem to be playing a bit of cat and mouse. But that is the first pass of the tilt. I would say because of the successful one and because of the frazzled state of Frederick, no sleight of hand is needed for the second attempt. However, as you do sort of peel back this warhorse and give its head towards the center of this jousting fence, I will need another attack roll from you, Vinty.
All right. So Vinty's going to stroke the mane of this horse and make sure that his head's in the zone.
Yeah.
So he's looking through his brows at his name's Frederick.
Frederick,
right?
Exactly.
He's looking at Frederick and he's like, this fucking guy. All right. So, he's like, yeah. So I'm like, yeah, dodge this, you filthy casual. And it's like,
what a line! That is so fucking good. Filthy casual is such an insult in D&D circles. You see his eyes narrow. Holy shit! Oh, dude, I almost rolled another natural 1.
I got an 18.
18.
Total of 23.
Okay, both hit. So total of 23. I rolled a 13 for a total of 19. Ooh. So if you would please give me a Constitution saving throw.
Oh boy, here we go. Bread and butter, +5. What do we got? 18, another 23 total.
23 total, okay. 23. You rolled a 22. Wow, so you exceed his. Unbelievable. Okay, so your Constitution save exceeds his attack roll. His Constitution saving throw, and he is a big boy that does not skip a meal, often finds ways to get in an extra one. His Constitution modifier is about as high as you can get. He was still 1 lower than your attack roll of 23.
Ooh.
Very, very clutch. As there's this brief kind of force as you feel the torque rise through your lance and push back into the pit of your shoulder. You kind of clutch down, and just as you start to make this hit, that's whenever you give out this Eldritch Blast. He's so close to you, almost no one can see as this pull catches him and threatens to send him up and out of his saddle. As he sort of loses, his lance glances over your shoulder blade. It does hit, but this Eldritch Blast sends him backwards. All of his focus is just cinching down with his legs and trying to keep himself where he is and not be unhorsed. He does succeed, however, as Venti sort of, rides off, you see the bard, Peter Quill, who is, I don't have Snap Camera up, otherwise I would put the filter on, but you see this very foppish bard, a very sort of flat hat, a long, way too long, 2.5 foot long feather coming out the top of this hat. A point for Venti! And as the crowd is reaching a fevered pitch, and as these two warriors, the sweat now kind of pouring over this focus, both horses giving full head and furrows, the tension never higher. We will make one final and last attack roll versus con save as the two warriors thunder towards each other. So what you got for me, Venti?
All right. Well, he's going to stroke this horse one more time.
Let's
Good
go.
job. Good job. Right on the neck. Yeah. He's like, all right, this is the last one. Last one. And you're out of here. You ready? And he just straps in. He's like, all right, let's fucking give him a show. And bolts for it.
And you can tell, like, they are behind you. I may have you styled as sort of the Black Knight foil, but after that first kind of 1-1 and then the subsequent follow-up, you feel the crowd rise as your horse starts to gather momentum towards Frederick.
Right. So, attack roll?
Yes, attack roll, exactly.
Gotcha. What do we got here? Ooh, a 10. I have a total of 15.
Total of 15. Oh, 15 just hits. I also rolled a 15. Does that hit?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, just hits.
This is gonna be big. So Constitution saving throw, my man. As both lances actually glance off the shields. There's a desire, perhaps an aided priority on protection. Both warriors kind of giving the shield the main focus. However, both lances find purchase. What did you roll on your con save?
16, and then it's 21 total.
Holy shit! I rolled 19. Damn! You got him by 1! As there's this crack of these lances, again, Frederick tries to anticipate this, giving his shield and almost rotating his body to try to give some flexibility to absorb this blow without it kind of impacting his saddle and his mount. However, he's too big a boy, and you're too well trained too well trained a warrior. As he sort of starts to pivot, you accept the force of his lance. Your shield goes flying back and off, leaving your hand free to pulse him with the Eldritch Blast. It's just enough. He doesn't see it coming. It catches him right between the shield and the lance. You see him again go up and out. He literally leaves the saddle before reaching down and landing on top of it. The horse isn't expecting this. Kind of sort of almost bolts to the right, almost loses control before he regains it. And at that point in time, the crowd, you say them fucking on! Come on, Venti! Sort of losing their fucking minds over it. As you are crowned the Crescent Champion of the Sundabar Joust. Very well done, Venti. Very
well done. For all the dwarves out there in Sundabar.
They really are. Exactly, dude. It's a dwarven city. It's a dwarven city.
Dwarven
that
warlock.
Was good, man. That was
well
so
done.
much fun.
Your description's amazing. That's really
good.
Dude,
thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. It helps that I'd run the Joust before.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, your improv stuff, I see it. It's great. It's wonderful.
Dude, I appreciate it, man. Like, I really just wanted to, like, do a quick, like, play sesh. It's not something I've done a ton of. It's super fun. Is there, and, like, truly, this is not I'm not, like, fishing for anything. Like, would you change anything, like, anything you can think of that would be cool to add to the mechanics? Or to anything, I welcome any thoughts.
So, mechanics of the Joust, if you wanted to... if you wanted to use the unhorsing as a point thing, then it can't be 1 and 2, because in 3 rounds, a 2 is gonna win no matter what, or make a draw no matter what. So or in that case, it's like you got unhorsed, you're gonna have to really buckle in and get lucky to win.
Right.
So
right.
Spreading that out might be part of it. If you wanted to do more things with like advantages, then you could do insight or
cool.
perception or handle animal.
That's very fucking cool to give them an option to create advantage.
Yeah,
that's sick.
Yep. Because like if you can read your guy, your opponent, or maybe you can fake them out somehow. I mean, it's really tough in a joust. It's like you're on a rail. You're literally on a rail. So it's like it might become, if you could add maybe a rock paper scissors aspect to it, that could be a bonus.
You mean like sort of a, oh, I got it, as in like a, like sort of a lance beats shield, shield beats horse, horse beats lance, or like type of,
yeah, something like that. Yeah, it'd be like,
system.
so yeah, it'd be like, so okay, we're gonna run this, we're gonna meet, you pick which one you want it to be, we reveal at the same time, whoever picked the right one gets the bonus.
Interesting.
Goes into it.
You know what, that's really, really, really cool, man. That's really fucking cool, because I mean, obviously advantage is like super helpful and like can do a lot of things, but I love the idea of attaching it to a skill check or a skills challenge even, where you're essentially being like, you know, you tell me, like, does your character have an angle on this? It's a little bit like adjacent to know thy enemy, kind of the battle master feat, which I love. One of my somebody at my longstanding table is a level 10 fighter and has know thy enemy, and it's sick. Like, it just gets them so much information. It makes me have to have a more fleshed out NPC, which I appreciate, to be honest. Dude, that's so fun. Okay, like, I know I keep saying we're done. I just keep having ideas because you keep hitting me with these things. This is the last one, okay? This is the last fucking one. This was another element that I added for the tournament in Sundabar. And I love those ideas, man. Like animal handling, of course. That's an obvious one. I don't know why I didn't think of that. It's really cool. I play a lot of Switch. Like Super Smash Bros. Is one of my favorite games. Like, absolutely adore it. Hopping online and just getting bodied by a bunch of 14-year-olds. That's what I live for, dude. That's what I live for. Yep. But they have this aspect of Smash Bros. That is called the sandbag. And it's sort of part of a training mode. It's not a very big part of the game, but essentially it's like a mini game where you hop in and you have 10 seconds and it counts down, and you're trying to deal as much damage to this sandbag as you can before it gets sent flying across the arena floor. And so I created something similar to this, where it was sort of like more or less how much damage can you deal in one round of combat. And I called it the Sandman. I designed it as like a literal sandbag, like held with these arcane springs, right? And I don't know. It just sort of, I kind of just wanted to book in that because I thought, just thinking about giving advantage, I had the players treat the sandbag as if it was restrained. So our fighter came out, action surged, took 4 attacks, and critted 3 times.
I'll do it.
Did like 97 points. I mean, it was absolutely buck nasty. Yeah.
People look at fighters as if they're tanks. They are the biggest damage dealers consistently. Wizards, they'll do it, but
they gotta hit.
This goes the distance. You don't gotta reload a sword. I don't gotta sleep to get that back.
Exactly. It has been scary
Why play fighters?
To watch this fighter get to level 10 and now like approach a level 11 and get 3 attacks. I'm like, yo.
It's a total blender.
Yeah, it really fucking is. Okay, one more time, man. I want to just give some love to... Oh, that's the wrong one. I'm so sorry. Hang on, I just jumped to the absolute wrong page. I want to give some love to Gemmed Firefly, dude. This is sick. I'm seeing nothing but 5-star reviews. I'm seeing nothing but babes and babettes wearing this clothing. Matt,
my wife's on there somewhere.
Oh, got you. There you go. You're like, there you go. Dude, Matt, you're the man, dude. Is there anything like coming up this week, coming up next couple weeks that we could be there for, that you would like some eyes on, or?
Actually, this is the last thing I'm doing for like the next week and a half. I am finally taking a break.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. So it's like we put this on, and it's just like, no, I'm just gonna the next 10 days. I'm gonna be here, of course. I'm on Twitter every day, but
Sure.
nothing streaming. Wait, yeah, nothing streaming.
Cool.
I got random projects and stuff I gotta do, but otherwise, yeah. If you wanna support, check out the store.
Heck yeah.
If you like lo-fi music, check out Dungeon Glitch on wherever you listen to music.
Oh, sick, dude! I didn't know
that's out there.
Now, man, are you producing music, or is it like curated playlist, bro?
Yeah, I got lo-fi and trap beats that I made for fun.
Dude, amazing.
So it's on Spotify. It's on Apple, Amazon, everywhere you can get it. The second album's free if you're into that.
Dude, hell yeah.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I'm on the I work with the Foundation for Inclusivity in Gaming, so we support BIPOC creators, LGBT creators. So for the last couple of months, basically we've been boosting, African American History Month, Black History Month, Asian AAPI month was last month. Now this is Pride Month, so everything we can do to boost and help out and that kind of thing. So every Friday we do the Magnificent Mythology. I always struggle saying it. I know what it is.
Yeah, that
yeah, Kyle. Oh, just naming everything so fabulously. And so yeah, if you're into that, if you are one of these minority or underrepresented creators, we would like to help you create something, because that's what we want to do. Because we want to essentially decolonize the space and promote more people of color, more LGBT, Alphabet Mafia, turn them into game producers.
Dude, that's it. And likewise, this is a safe space that I mean, truly at minimum, wanted to be able to consistently give space. So that's awesome to hear, man. And that's super rad. Like I think honestly, one of the biggest draws of tabletop D&D is like, there's so many gatekeepers on self-expression and so many gatekeepers on like how you're supposed to present yourself or represent yourself. And I think that's why so many people are drawn to D&D and roleplay,
Yep.
And Matt, just for
that's why I love the the Twitter community, because it's so much better than the Reddit one and the Facebook one. So it's like, that's why I always try my best to protect it and boost the people who are here.
Dude,
so
you're doing a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job, man. Yeah, that's really, really frustrating. Dude, as I'm sitting here, like I have Dungeon Glitch up as a shared capture in our OBS, just so people can go check it out. There's been like 5 purchases, dude.
Oh,
yeah. I'm sitting here and it's like, we're doing, like, let's go. Like, this thing is like popping off.
Yeah, we're doing pretty all right.
Like, it's
some of those aren't real time. They'd be like, oh yeah, that was like yesterday.
Well, I don't care, dude. People, I'm just glad things are moving. Like, that's it.
Oh yeah, we're doing all right. Yeah. It's fun.
Well, Matt, for good reason, dude. You're a great creator, great dude. Guys, everyone, thank you so much for swinging by. Like, Koopy, so great seeing you again. Mapronomicon, such a treat to get to know you guys and meet you guys. Really goes for everybody. Nathan, I appreciate you coming through. I'm a fan of Reckless Attack. I follow you guys on YouTube. I've really enjoyed it.
Reckless Attack is awesome.
And yeah, Trick Ninja, get in here. I mean, Juice Flask, you long been my girl and you remain my girl. But Matt, anything you want to say before we get out of here, man?
Yeah. If you have someone that you care about, let them know that you love them now. Just go do it.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Nothing big. Just say you appreciate them. They'll appreciate it. You'll make their day. You'll feel better.
Dude, even with the text.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Other than that, this has been super fun.
Dude, it's been a blast. I mean, truly. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time, Matt. Like, this has been incredible.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for super cool. I'm excited about it. This is great. This is a great way to start my vacation.
Dude, I know. I'm so glad to hear that you're about to cut the engines. I have like a pretty intense deadline on Friday. So I'm about to like today's about to like really get hectic, but this was such a heartwarming and informative, man. I feel like this makes me look like arrogant. This is not it. I didn't even consider how much I was going to learn from this. Like, you've been blowing my mind. Oh man,
I love it.
I appreciate that, guys. Anyone trying to catch my stream? D&D is typically some version of either prep or conversation or art doodling or map making on Monday, Wednesdays during this time frame. Typically, like sometime between 1 and 3. And on Fridays, this Friday and most every Fridays, I stream Elden Ring. And I occasionally do that sometimes in character as Trellian the White or some other sort of heavy NPC that I fancy. But I will be there this Friday playing Elden Ring on my quest to die 1,000,000 times. So thank you for that, Koopy. Matt, you're a legend. Everybody go follow Dungeon Glitch, and everyone go and hop on to Gemmed Firefly because this stuff is fire.
Yeah,
And
follow his channel here if you're not.
Yes, please.
Make sure you follow here.
Discord, we are out. Love y'all.
Yep.